Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the official beginning of the official meeting of the City of Sonoma Climate Action Commission. We are meeting in a agendized regular meeting of the commission. We're going to start, as usual, with the roll call, and then we'll do comments from the public. You're going to do the roll call, Jennifer, or will I?
I'll do it.
Hannah. Yeah. Pardon me? We're ready for the roll call for this evening's meeting of the City of Sonoma Climate Action Commission. Thank you, Hannah.
Commissioner Baston.
Here.
Commissioner McCloskey.
Present.
Commissioner Heinerman.
Here.
Commissioner Fogelberg.
Here.
Commissioner Ward.
Here.
Vice Chair Conlon.
Here.
And Chair Morrell.
Here.
We also tonight have our new youth member, Calvin Stevens.
Here.
Thank you.
And Calvin is a youth member just joining us this evening. Welcome, Calvin.
Thank you.
The first item we're going to...
He has something he'd like to say.
Oh, yes, of course. Calvin, please.
My name is Calvin Stevens. I'm the new youth non-voting member of the commission and currently a freshman at Pivot Charter in Santa Rosa. I've lived in Sonoma for the majority of my life. In the past few years, I've been active in local environmental and political activities. I'm also a member of the Center for People Power in Boys Hot Springs, providing demos, webinars, teach-ins, and a book lending program. I look forward to working with everyone here. Thank you.
And thank you for being here and your volunteering to make a difference in climate action here in Sonoma. Welcome aboard. Our next effort is to approval of the agenda as published for this evening. I would welcome a motion if there were a motion, or commentary if there are any changes or proposals.
So moved.
Philip has moved. Is there a second
I
to
will
this
second.
motion? There is the second. We have a motion to approve the agenda that has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion of said motion? Seeing no discussion, we will take a vote on the motion. Thank you.
Commissioner Baston.
Aye.
Commissioner McCloskey.
I'm good.
Commissioner Heinerman.
Approved.
Commissioner Fogelberg.
Approved.
Commissioner Ward.
Aye.
Vice Chair Conlon.
Aye.
Chair Morrell.
Aye.
And we'll do a practice vote as well. Commissioner Youth Member Stevens.
Aye.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Our next step is comments from the public. I believe it's appropriate that I read some of the material that precedes comments from the public. This is the time for public comment on any item not appearing on tonight's agenda, 3 minutes or less. The matters on the agenda, the matters presented on public comment cannot be discussed or acted upon this evening. Do we have any public comment this evening? Would you please come to the microphone, introduce yourself, and join us in the importance of your public comment, and thank you for being here this evening.
You're welcome. My name's Howard Sapper. I've been in Sonoma resident for 46 years. I'm a human rights commissioner. I represent you guys for the last 10 years, first under Susan Gorman, now under her Marcia. I'm grateful to be here. I received a call 2 days ago, or yesterday, from David asking me if I could take a meeting with him, and I did, and we had a wonderful meeting today. About 5 months ago, our former city manager and Tim Zahner had come to me and asked me if we, at Pushpak Motors, which is an electric transportation company here for the last 5.5 years, would be interested in participating in some solutions, green solutions for transportation. So we have been talking about a few things, and now David and I had a more succinct conversation today. So what I wanted to share with you is we've been doing tours and sales of green vehicles, traditionally three-wheel electrics, and we're really proud of what we do. We take a lot of traffic off the plaza, and we'd like to be involved in taking more traffic. So David had said that there's some initiatives to bring some buses in. And I've been looking at all kinds of transportation because I've been buying electric vehicles from China for about 5.5 years. And all political aside, they're so far advanced in the electric vehicle movement, otherwise that's why they still get some of my money. And so when David explained to me looking at these electric buses, I said, well, that's great, because David and Tim and I were talking about putting 6 and 12 passenger vehicles that we have access to on those same bus routes. And the idea of eventually a bigger bus being something that can be made available to tourists and to residents is something that we've been looking at very carefully. The comments, I hope I'm going to stay inside of 3 minutes. The problem always is, how is this sustainable? Not just from a ecological standpoint, but from an economic standpoint. As I said to David, our company is not in a position to underwrite this type of a transportation, but we certainly have the infrastructure to support it. So in our conversations, we discussed a 2-year plan of starting with some of the types of vehicles that we may have using the bus routes to bring tourists into town, and also for locals to do people that don't necessarily want to get on 32. I think 32 is the free transportation. And how do we scale this from starting with smaller vehicles to mid-sized vehicles and working our way up to the larger vehicles? And what we arrived at is there a private, nonprofit, and public combination that makes sense to be able to handle the financing for something like that? From an infrastructure basis, we're right in the plaza. I have a large, I call it assembly plant in 8th Street East, where I build the bikes and the vehicles. And so we have all that in place. The question is, how would one go about putting a business plan together to present to local, county, state people who have some grant resources available, and where we may be able to step in. The other thing that we've been talking to David about, he knew, but the city needs to know, is that we're also looking at some EV high-end vehicles for people to come out of who want to do tourism that way, other than just riding our scooters, which will be a nice statement for the town to be making that. David had told me that the city had been looking to bring Waymo in for many years and hadn't got the support they wanted. We have vehicles, we've already purchased one, and we have others that we're looking to do this. So we're looking to do everything from our 3-wheel electric scooters through 6 and 12s, through these electric vehicles, up to the buses. So if there's a way that we're doing aligns with what the Climate Commission wants to do and what the city and the region wants to do, we'd love to be a strategic partner. As I said to David, I'm not going to come here and say I can write a $2 million check and make this a reality for the county, but I have a lot of expertise and a lot of passion. I've been a fervent environmentalist for over 50 years, and I'm grateful for the work that you guys do. And I just wanted to come, as David asked me to, and just let you know that we're willing to be part of a solution if it makes sense for everybody. Does anybody have any questions? I guess we're not allowed to ask them in public?
We are. We can thank you for your comment, and we can see if there are commission comments later in the program as we get into the further discussion of the potential EV trolley. It's a very good follow-on from discussions this commission has had, and with interaction with the Chamber of Commerce, with members of the City Council, one-on-one, less than 3, to be sure.
No Brown Act violations here.
No Brown Act violations are allowed or even contemplated. And as a result, having your presentation this evening in public comments is a good step forward in this journey we have to use an EV trolley of some type, EV transportation in Sonoma, as a way to help us meet our 2030 goals of net zero greenhouse gas emissions associated with Sonoma.
Well, I'm going to invite everybody to come down and see me anytime you want to ride with me and see what we're doing. That's great. And please don't limit your thought process to the end round. There's ways to get from where we are to where we want to go to. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you again for sharing your thoughts with us this evening. We have more public comments.
One more public comment, please.
Introduce yourself, please, though many of us might know who you are.
My name is Ronnie Joe Grooms. I'm the program director over at KSVY Community Radio 91.3 FM, and I'm producing this television program tonight, this very important one here of the Climate Action Commission. I thought it would be of interest, and I wanted to remind everyone that this Sunday at our historic Sebastiani Theater, Wake Up Sonoma is screening, a community screening of a film, a documentary film called Running for the Mountains. It starts at 5 p.m. The doors open at 4:15 p.m. It's an exceptional, award-winning documentary about kind of the collision of dark money and politics and really environmental destruction. Takes place in West Virginia, where certain politicians promise to harvest every lump of coal until they're all gone. I think a part that the commission might want to participate in, if you can come see the screening, there is a Q&A afterwards, and a really exciting panel of folks that I have gotten to speak with. And beyond Babette Hogan and Julie Eisenberg, who are the documentary filmmakers, who have been on this project since 2008, Paul Corbett Brown, who is the activist, is going to be there and available for questions and comments, as well as Janelle Kelman, who happens to be a candidate for the Lieutenant Governor of California, but is also a longtime lawyer of risk assessment when it comes to climate change and whatnot. So I think it's made a very informative and exciting night, and having interviewed them already, they're already threading the needle between West Virginia and our Pacific Ocean, for example, and other resources. So I hope you come out, and I hope the community that's watching this will all come out on Sunday. Thanks so much.
Thank you for being here, and I'm sure that many people who are watching tonight will be ready to come out.
I want just a quick
Philip,
comment.
commentary.
As the son of a former mayor of Huntington, West Virginia, I can assure you that not all West Virginians want to harvest every lump of coal. So let's make sure that we understand.
And the film will show that too, and I think you'll be very excited to speak with the gentleman who's the activist and the cinematographer from the region. It really does show the splits in the community, and also the people who loved. And also there's this interesting thread between that civic pride, or maybe better, it's patriotism, and the connection to the energy that they were trying to harvest, and it's very strong and deep-rooted there. And how do we talk about that and work our way through it? And last point, I was born in Arlington, Virginia. I moved to Sonoma in 1982 with a very thick Southern accent. So, I was in the northwestern part of the state, kind of near that Appalachian
Arlington,
side.
Virginia is
Mom's-
not quite
mom's-
West Virginia, but we'll go with it.
David, what I run into all over the place is people who claim they're from West Virginia and they can't prove it. I can prove it.
I believe you.
I'm not bragging. I can prove it.
It's a beautiful part of the world, and those mountains too.
Philip,
So,
as a mountaineer, you have every right to
That's
brag about it.
Hillbilly.
thanks so much, everybody.
Excellent start to an interesting meeting. Any other comments? And we're going to go into are there any other public comments this evening during the public comment period on items not on tonight's agenda? No. All right, but thanks for joining us. So let's move to item 2 on the agenda, with the permission of my co-conspirators up here on the podium. We'll move to selection of officers. Climate Action Commission selection of chair and vice chair for the new year 2026. This is an annual exciting event of the Climate Action Commission. And so I would start with the selection of the chair for this year. I would call for nominations for the chair of the Climate Action Commission for 2026.
Are you term limited?
Not to my knowledge.
Since not, I've enjoyed having David as the chair. I'd like to nominate him.
There's a nomination for Dr. Morell as continuing chair. Are there any seconds? Or Ms. Fogelberg?
I will second.
Thank you very much. That's much appreciated.
Do you accept the nomination?
Well, I think we need discussion. I accept the nomination, yes, and I'm pleased to do so. I would note that from my point of view, so my fellow commissioners and the vast audience knows, I would make it a one-year only statement at this point. Being older than Joe Biden, I realize the importance of leaving on time. So 1 year and no more. You and Philip has heard this before.
I'll nominate Tom Conlon, a young man.
It is
Thank you.
early 60s, I believe.
Thank you, Leo. He's 2 years younger than I am. Or so. We have a second nomination on the floor for Vice Chair my friend Tom Conlon. Do we have a second for that nomination?
I'll second.
And we have a second from Mr. Philip Heineman. No? A second?
So, proceed.
Procedurally, there's a nomination on the floor. The second nomination was not supposed to have been made.
Oh, I see you want to
It
vote on
could've-
the first
You have
nomination.
to vote on the first, and the
before the
first
second.
We're
fails.
supposed to be
That's what I
following,
thought I
because
was
I
saying.
understand the rules. But we do obviously have, in the course of discussion,
I defer to the
some
Robert's
interest-
Rule of Action
some
expert
interest
here.
in this, maybe a different outcome than happened last year.
So,
Who's up for what?
So what I'm hearing, and maybe Ms. Gates can further give us Robert's rules on this, we should vote on the first nomination and then accept a second one if the first one fails. Is that what I'm hearing as the proper procedure, sir?
My understanding is if the first one fails, then we go to the next. Before we vote, though, we still need to open for public comment. So,
Is there any public comment on this process of the proposal for the first nomination that's been made for the chair for this coming year? Seeing none, we're moving to the vote, I believe. Is that sound? Oh, discussion and then a vote.
Okay, if I may.
You may.
So I would put my name forward for, as exemplified by this last procedure. I am currently chairing the committee, the Climate Action Advisory Committee at the county level. And it has come to our attention there that we need to be careful about process at the county level. And I was given a little lecture on that by county staff. And then I watched Supervisor Hopkins make exactly the same procedural mistake that I had made at the last meeting. So, with deference to our chair, it is difficult sometimes to follow this process. I would be happy to serve, but I also really would respect the work that David has put in, and especially with his commitment tonight to effectively implement a term limit, I would be comfortable not to put my name forward tonight. So thank you for the opportunity to say that.
Is there other discussion of the motion on the floor with respect to this year's chair?
Yeah, is that a firm commitment that you will not be here a year from now?
My commitments are always firm when they're made, sir.
Yeah.
That's a yes.
What is the commitment? I'm not sure, but I heard that.
What I said was I would serve for this year, but not beyond.
Yeah.
That's an annual statement that would run until the January meeting a year from now, to get precise with your commentary.
But you would maybe run next year
As the chair, right?
as the chair?
I would not run next year. I am giving a term limit of my own choice.
Oh, okay.
That's believe what I said, and I'm reiterating it to my knowledge.
Yeah. But it's good to reiterate it.
Other comments from commissioners of this interesting commentary? Seeing none, it looks like we move to a vote.
Commissioner Baston,
I approve.
Commissioner McCloskey,
I'll abstain.
Commissioner.
technically you can't abstain. We'll just take it as a no.
Yeah, I'll take that as a no. Somebody has to say that.
Commissioner Heinerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Fogelberg,
yes.
Commissioner Ward.
Yes.
Vice Chair Conlon,
Yes.
Chair Morrell.
Yes.
The motion passes 6-1-0-0.
Thank you. And
And our youth member.
thank you very much.
Stevens?
That takes care of that item.
Youth member Stevens, can you cast your vote?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Oh, he does vote. Excellent. We're now moving to selection of the vice chair for this year. I call for nominations for the 2026 vice chair of the Climate Action Commission.
I would love to nominate Tom.
Vice Chair Conlon has been nominated, and there's a second on the table,
And I'll accept that.
and an acceptance. It sounds like we're ready to move.
Public comment?
Comment. Any public comment on this process? Seeing none, we're moving on to the vote itself. No, we're moving to comments on it before we go to the vote. Discussion. Seeing not a lot of discussion, I believe we're moving to the vote.
Commissioner Baston?
Aye.
Commissioner McCloskey? Commissioner Heinerman?
Yes.
Commissioner Fogelberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Vice Chair Conlon?
Aye.
Chair Morrell?
Aye.
And Youth Member Stevens?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And congratulations to Vice Chair Conlon for having joined the team again. I believe we're now moving to the consent calendar for this evening. Put my glasses on for this. We have some minutes of November and December meetings, November and January meetings. We'll move first to the November meeting, which is on here. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'd like to move approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion and second. Is there any discussion of this motion? Seeing none, let's move to the vote.
Commissioner Baston?
Aye.
Commissioner McCloskey?
Yes.
Commissioner Heinerman?
Yes.
Commissioner Fogelberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Vice Chair Conlon?
Aye.
Chair Morrell?
Yes.
And Youth Member Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. And the second item under the consent calendar are the minutes from the January 21st meeting. Is proposed for approval by the commission. Is there any discussion by commissioners?
Just as a reminder, if you were not present but you read the minutes and you don't have any questions, you can vote on those minutes. If you did not read them, then you can abstain.
With that guidance in mind, let's have a roll call vote.
I'd like to move to approve the
There we go.
minutes of the special joint commission's meeting, and just add that appreciated the detail that was in the minutes. Thank you.
Is there a second to this motion?
I'll second.
Norma has seconded. Motion seconded. Is there any discussion, commentary on the motion to approve? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote.
Commissioner Baston?
Aye.
Commissioner McCloskey?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinerman?
Yes.
Commissioner Fogelberg?
Aye.
Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Vice Chair Conlon?
Aye.
Chair Morrell?
Aye, unanimous. Aye.
And Youth Member Stevens?
I abstain.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. And now we're ready to move into agenda item 4 for this evening. Some more of the meat of the meeting. Climate Action Strategies Progress, followed by ad hoc committee reports. I think this is a very important topic for us, and I'm hoping it becomes at least an annual event to discuss progress during the previous year. And I think something like this should be on each of our agendas to discuss progress since the previous meeting. As we get closer and closer to 2030 and our city's adopted goal of net zero climate greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, strategy, implementation, and effective action become imperative. So with that preamble, is there discussion of the progress reports that we put out in the agenda for the previous year?
All right, so
I think
I'm
we
gonna,
should go through them and,
yeah, we're
and
gonna,
repeat what we've got to show as progress, as well as commentary about how we can accelerate progress.
so I'm gonna ask that our new staff person, Antoinette, is going to give a brief overview of the 2025 actions. She has reorganized, taken the tables themselves out to provide into this document and highlighted 2024 and 2025 actions that have been taken. And then hopefully you all saw that we Chair Morell and Vice Chair Conlon had provided a secondary document of some of theirs that they had also added, that the commission had been working on as well. And so, but I've asked Antoinette to just kind of do a brief overview of some of the highlights that she's learned about since she's been here now a month. So, really excited to have her here. So we'll do a brief overview, and you know, the chair would like to also talk about some of the highlights that maybe we didn't have that you had in yours, and then have the two ad hoc committees provide some updates at those parts, right?
Perfect,
Talk
and
about-
welcome Antoinette, and thanks for joining us here in the city of Sonoma as we move to achieve our aggressive climate action goals. Your presence and activities will be central to that process. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. To kick off the accomplishments for 2025 in the transportation category, the two main accomplishments that really jump out are the adoption of the active transportation plan to improve the bicycle and pedestrian networks. That is fulfilling one of the items from the transportation climate strategies to expand bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. The other achievement was in the subject of electric vehicle charging, and that was obtaining the Charging Smart Silver designation for electric vehicle readiness, which I know that my colleagues worked very hard on and is a great accomplishment for the city. And those were the two standouts that I definitely wanted to mention for the transportation section. Did you have any others you wanted to?
Are there any comments or questions from my colleagues on the report given so far?
I wonder about, congratulations on getting silver, not bronze. Very, very nice. It's just a step below gold. What about the numbers? Like, did we increase the high-speed charging? How many new chargers were put in with this program? What's the increase in capacity to charge cars?
So when we talked about it last, the goal of the program was to set up regulations and pathways for us to increase chargers. It wasn't necessarily to place chargers. So with the program, we're going to continue to try to reach gold if we can, and that'll just continue to increase our ability to place chargers and make it more streamlined and more feasible for homeowners or property owners to install, as well as for the city itself to install. So that's primarily what the goal of the program was, though.
But how many total chargers are in the city? Is it
that I would have to look into.
5? 10?
I mean, there's more than that,
More than that.
but, so there's the difference, right? There's public chargers and then private chargers. And part of that EV readiness was to have ordinances that allow for even the private side as well as the public. So public, have companies be able to come in and easily put in. We've recognized that there's some other needs around that, but we can look at ways to grab that information from our permitting system. I know that we have a completely separate permit for solar, so we can track the number of solar permits we issue every year. I know that I personally have done at least 2 or 3 electrical vehicle private ones within the last 4 months that I can remember off the top of my head. Where planning does not review them in that sense. I think I was looking at them more to make sure that they were in the garage or placed on the side and not on a pole in the middle of the yard. kind of my goal.
But what about within a block of the plaza? How many chargers are there?
One block of the plaza, there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
There are 4 behind the Bank of America
Right,
at
that's
Electrify
4.
America's
And then-
fast charging station. There are several Tesla-oriented chargers near the community center, which is more than 1 block by the criteria set forth, but within about 2 to 3 long blocks.
And then there's 2 or 3
Those are not
behind
always
Sebastiani.
accessible to other cars than Teslas.
So Sebastiani also has, I think, 2 behind the Sebastiani Theater.
So does the,
That's correct. The original ones off of
And the ones behind Bank of
Napa Street.
America, I just approved their upgrades. So they're getting ready to get upgraded, so I just approved that.
I'm sorry, where?
The ones behind Bank of America, they're doing some upgrades right now.
There's the hotel, the Sonoma, I'm not sure what it's called now. It used to be Best Western.
It's
Has a charger.
correct. It is a requirement under the law, the building code, right, is to be EV ready, and some of them have gone to the next step of actually providing them. And they just did a remodel, and that's when those got done.
But I would certainly appreciate those numbers, and I would reiterate the importance of moving beyond the capacity for the city to accelerate the acceptance of chargers with a positive action to bring more chargers into the city. There are opportunities, I believe, with some of the gasoline companies. Shell in particular, I've seen in San Francisco, has replaced at least 1 and potentially more gas stations with chargers. And that might be something we could pursue here, both for our local residents who don't have home chargers and for tourists, especially if a gas station were somewhat proximate to the plaza and the tourist areas. Tom, jump in.
So, on this process generally, I just want to step back a moment and congratulate everybody on how much more organized this is this time around than it was last year, and the momentum that we're building toward the metrics and sense of accomplishments that we're also eager to be able to see the city progress on. I know that when David and I first looked at this list, we both came away with the impression that there hadn't been that much progress. And so it's quite gratifying to see the tables that you put together and the staff's perspective, because staff is really where the work is happening. And so with that preface, I want to just add a few things that I know about that maybe even push us a little farther than what's on the paper right here. In the active transportation plan, there have actually been a number of improvements in bicycle and pedestrian safety beyond what's written here in front of us. There have been, under the Go Sonoma funding, the sales tax measure funding, we've recently made major changes on West Main Street.
Tom, excuse me, is there a way to bring up on the screen the other document of accomplishments that I think Tom is referring to, or you're on the table?
I'm writing my notes on the original draft, but they really pertain to the table, so that's why I'm
Okay,
holding that
so
piece
they're
of paper.
working right off the table, which has a smaller number of elements.
It does, but it does say, prep the master plan for bike and ped infrastructure, and then in terms of accomplishments, work with Public Works to identify ATP implementation. Well, the reality is Public Works now has transformed over the past year and is becoming much more focused on this. I was looking over the Vision Zero notes at the county level. Ashley Cotter attended on the city's behalf this past meeting, and there are projects in place. There's about a $1.6 million grant-funded project to do citywide bicycle and pedestrian improvements, and the coordination that's ongoing with Caltrans, in particular around the Verano Highway 12 interchange. There's an article in the Sun about it this time. A lot of work is happening in the city and directly adjacent to the city, all focused on active transportation plan implementation. So that is something it was the top priority of our entire commission. We talked about that many times, and I just want to be sure that the public is aware that we are making progress in that area. It is important to note that there is still a little bit of a disconnect between the active transportation plan and what Public Works has funding to work on. And that's because those processes kind of occurred in silos, but as long as we're aware of that gap, we can tighten that up. And I see that happening with staff over the course of this next year. The other thing I wanted to draw attention to is in the EV charger space, there is a countywide effort underway to assess areas that are in need of EV chargers, and that one's not noted on here, but I don't think it will directly impact the city limits, but it will definitely impact the Valley community, and that report's going to come soon, I think.
We've been participating, and there is
Yes.
one site. So the idea
Okay.
being that, what was it, 1 mile? I think it was 1 mile from the existing sites is how they've set boundaries of where they would identify. So basically gaps. And so us being only 2.7 square miles, there was only really one location that popped up. So.
And I have further detailed comments on 3 and 4, task transportation 3 and 4 and 5, but I think we should move on to let you present those as well.
Thank you. Other comments on this first phase of the accomplishments?
Yeah, I have one thing. I have some cost accounting background, but when these metrics come, maybe I'm speaking now possibly to Antoinette. This target year performance metric, greenhouse gas reduction potential. In 2023, we ferreted out that there were 6 chargers, right? If you put in there 25 chargers, as you see that, the 25 in 2024, that's a 310% increase in greenhouse gas reduction. 2025 is not here, but 2026 you had 20. So that would be an additional, since you didn't add the 25, that would be an additional 500 or 600%. So I think you could make your greenhouse gas reduction potential the percent increase above the baseline of 2023 of 6 chargers within a block of a plaza. And I think those metrics would really empower us. We could go to work more with that, thinking about where is the action in terms of the tricycle electric versus these chargers. Because if we could get a 500 or 600 or 1,000% increase in the number of chargers, the cars are fewer gas emissions would then be self happening. It would just happen. So I think if we could get these numbers in there of what the city's goals are, 6, 25, then maybe we wouldn't be so ambitious on asking the city to do things too. Because if you had done 25 and then we asked for another 20, that would be 45 new chargers. That would be quite a lift. Maybe that's too much. So just a few more metrics.
Thank you. And the next area of discussion, we're going to be on improved public transportation. Came up and it bounced off.
Could I just say one more thing about
T3, John,
EV chargers?
Yeah, please, John. From a personal or a PG&E
Well,
perspective.
I maybe it's not from a PG&E, but personal and citywide perspective is, I see that there's a discussion about getting chargers in proximity to the plaza, but I think that that's a lot for the people who drive a long way to get to Sonoma and then drive to leave from Sonoma, and not necessarily for the residents who live in Sonoma. So I just wanted to, I live on West Spain in a condo in the middle of a lot of multifamily dwelling units, and I know that it's a barrier for a lot of the people in the condos to have an electric vehicle because they can't charge it anywhere. So if it was convenient to find a couple central places in the middle of the high-density areas of Sonoma to allow the residents to be able to charge electric vehicles. They're the ones who are driving vehicles around Sonoma, and it decreases the carbon footprint in the city limits.
Philip?
I said this before, and if several of you are new. The problem is that we're not doing this in conjunction with private enterprise, because we can't put chargers up for the city of Sonoma. We have to find people like Electrify America who will want to come here. And I really don't see an effort to do that. Why didn't you get 25 more? Well, because market studies weren't done that showed that people could make money on those 25, apparently. And we don't really focus on that, but that's one of the roadblocks, is we do privatize the industry, and because of that, you've got to make it economically sound for people to come in.
That's both a roadblock and an opportunity. About 2 to 3 years ago, we had a serious proposal from an EV installing company to come to Sonoma, and the city was unfortunately not yet ready to say yes to it. It came at their expense. They were going to fully install between 6 and 8 chargers, maybe up to 12 maximum. But they came with digital advertising, which did not quite meet with certain city requirements, despite our desperate need to encourage more and more EV traffic to meet our climate goals. So it's there, it's a possibility with some of the private sector, because they'd make the money off the advertising.
So, we hear you. We got you. We will look at tracking mechanisms, and so that we can report more of the numbers. As you know, these numbers were created in 2023. They were aspirational goals. We didn't get any funding to help fund such a program for the EV stuff. But we are seeing multifamily, installing them. We see single family. So, we can get some numbers and kind of maybe reassess and think a little bit more about EV charging. We have other constraints within our city, and it's called the grid. So, that's a reality of power, is that we have grid needs, and grid upgrades that need to occur to help do that as well. So let's keep going, though, in the interest of time. It's 6:45. We've got a lot on our agenda tonight, so I just want to allow Antoinette to kind of go through kind of the highlights and what she's learned and everything. If there's something that's missed, maybe we'll go through the whole thing, and we can go by building, water. We can go by topic. And then, if there's something we missed that you want to highlight and things, that's great. Let's save our discussions for the work plan tonight. So let's focus on successes, and then when we get to the work plan, we can talk about, okay, what is it that we want to do this year and focus on? Okay?
That sounds terrific, with the coda that the Depot Park area is still desperate for a potential EV charger siting.
Get me some power. Get me some power.
If we can get the electric grid power in there, which somehow Electrify America did not far away at Wells Fargo, but we can continue to look at that opportunity. Calvin, thank you.
I will admit, I do agree with the city's concerns over digital advertisements at the charging stations, unless because you mentioned this was an older plan. If things have changed, or it would be someone else doing it.
Thank you. Good input. Moving forward, where we're moving beyond EV chargers, Antoinette, the Olympic football is back to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'm going to take us into buildings, our next category. The 2025 accomplishments in this area really were focused on public outreach, updating resources on our city website, and utilizing our newsletter. And working with Bayren, our local advisor for these types of things. One great achievement was streamlining the solar panel permitting process with our permitting software in the city to make it just a bit easier to get those permits to install solar panels. And that was my commentary for buildings. For accomplishments, were there any other accomplishments that you wanted to share?
Any commissioner further comments on that? I have just one, the commentary in here about community solar systems is a particularly exciting, in my view, opportunity to have much lower cost and have the solar collectors in the least shaded areas of a cul-de-sac or group area. And this would take work with Sonoma Clean Power and potentially with PG&E, but would be a very interesting way to show some climate initiatives here in Sonoma, to publicize the possibility of 2, 3, 4, 5 houses joining forces with individual meters, but a shared solar system appropriately sited. So that's in our list, and it's something that I think deserves much more careful attention, both at PG&E and at Sonoma Clean Power.
So I would just, congratulations on the solar permitting expediting, the software change, that's excellent. I want to agree with my fellow commissioners who want to see more metrics. I think we could perhaps even, my suggestion would be to form an ad hoc on coming up with some ideas on how the city could begin tracking on the website and perhaps elsewhere some of these key metrics that we've identified around this table as the ones that are going to produce the greenhouse gas improvements. And you know, right now we're doing a custom query of the permit system to figure out how many solar installations there are in the city, or we're doing an annual report on the number of EV chargers. But if there was a process in place to say, these are things we know we're going to want to pay attention to over many years, we could start to track those things and start to track the progress that I know we're all so eager to see. So I think that's what Leah was kind of leaning toward, and I think it would actually make these meetings more efficient and easier for everybody. And if we lose a grant, that, you know, that's why things have dropped out, perhaps. But if we eliminate a barrier, wow, things really get better. So we'll see those things. And now that we have this template on top of our old narrative strategy, I think we're ready to start talking about those metrics in a granular way. So I would like to support that effort over the course of next year. So the suggestion was an ad hoc. It doesn't have to be. It could just be continued discussions like this and individual proposals by staff. But that's where I was going to go with it tonight. And then the other specific thing is we got hammered by the state on building code, reach codes this year, and the whole CEQA pullback. But on the good side is that balcony solar is moving forward. That's the idea that renters and anybody can buy a solar panel and plug it into their regular wall jack. And toward the microgrid conversation that David raised, I was just chatting online with Mark Jacobson at Stanford about, you've probably heard that data centers are causing peak grid constraints all over the country. The reality is that's not happening in California. This past year, California's peak grid demand actually went down. And that's because behind the meter solar and batteries are being installed at such a high rate in California right now that we actually don't have a problem this past year. Now, will people come to California and put data centers in? Frankly, no, because it's too expensive to do that in California. And so even with our electrification of buildings and vehicles and data centers, we're still meeting our needs through primarily wind, water, and solar in the state of California. So our strategy at the state level is working, and the Bay Area Air Quality Management NOx rules are being implemented. There are exceptions being proposed, but there's great work happening in that area as well. So if we start to track these things, we'll start to get these wins, and I'm excited to be doing that in the next year.
Thank you, Tom. And Antoinette, back to you.
Okay, I'm going to carry on to solid waste. So accomplishments in the solid waste category were similar to the previous category, updating web pages, public outreach, and communication with Sort It Sonoma and Compost It Sonoma. And there was, Public Works has included in their Olson Park Plan and Depot Park Plan for this year the installation of water filling stations, which is great, and connects with SW-3, reduce single-use plastic water bottles. And that's all I have to report for solid waste accomplishments.
Comments from commissioners on solid waste? I would add that Rotary has put together a very, very impressive online chart helping people understand exactly what their options are for all the different kinds of recycling that meets these requirements. So publicizing that can be very powerful.
I was just going to say, like last year, we had presentations from Sonoma Clean Power. It might be time to have someone come in from Zero Waste Sonoma and give us an update on how those programs are performing. Just a suggestion for this year.
Calvin has a comment.
And also, I agree with the idea of putting the reusable water fillers. The several schools here in Sonoma Valley have done it, and it's saved so much from plastic just going in the garbage.
Thank you. As we move along.
Excellent. We are in the category of water, where the Cash for Turf program was continued in 2025, and beginning to explore other uses for that grant that is funding the Cash for Turf program. And
is there a commentary about how much cash is still left in that? We had $50K about a year ago.
the commentary is that there is cash left for turf.
Somewhat about that level. Not a lot has been expended.
Come and get it.
If you
Come and get it.
Yes, if you have turf, we have cash for
It
it.
used to be called Cash for Grass, but that got
Yeah.
commentated about.
That's a different program.
Yes, thank
We can
you.
talk about that later. So for W-2, Public Works had a huge accomplishment with completing the advanced water metering infrastructure project. And that has been in use, and I can already hear it coming that possibly reporting on progress and how that's going might be helpful in 2026. So I'll put it on my list so we can keep going if you'd like. And is there any other water accomplishments?
Not that I know of. We have, on the lack of accomplishment, we've identified the potential for rainwater capture at the city corporation yard on A Street East. We've had an expert look at the building, and we use a lot of water there, both for the street water sweeper, which indeed is an electric vehicle, but it has potable water in it, and lots of washing of vehicles goes on. We could use a lot of non-potable water well out there. And it would be lovely in this new calendar year to move forward with that. It takes a proposal to get some funding to
Find me a grant.
design.
Find me a grant.
We need to work together to seek a grant that's appropriate.
So you jumped to government, so
Well,
just
and
stick
it's
to water
water.
for a second.
That's water, and there is a county building next to us. Since we have a new advocate at the county starting soon, we might be able to get a joint county-city operation going there on East Street East. They're adjacent buildings.
So I would just point out in accomplishments, the city's been working on the urban water management plan update, which is going to produce a lot more hopefully actionable programmatic recommendations, best practices in water conservation. And so a lot of that heavy lifting won't be on you and Antoinette and our commission, but it will actually be recommended by the consultants who are putting that together. So that's something that Ashley Cotter, I believe, is working on closely. I haven't seen the draft report yet. I don't know if it's out yet, but I am anticipating it soon. And I'll talk, Leo and I will talk more about this when we talk about our ad hoc update, which we kind of skipped earlier.
Moving on.
Okay, we are going on to government operations. A accomplishment that came at the end of the year through Public Works is they have put out their RFP for facilities assessment, which will be fantastic and will be awarded earlier this year. And just moving on, the Sonoma County Transit electric charger installation for buses at the city courtyard. An RFP was put out and they have received 7 proposals as of the end of 2025 to put that in, which will be fantastic. And we, in 2025 as well, Public Works did contact PG&E and their EV fleet grant program. The grant program was not available at the time, but we will continue to look into that along with other grants in 2026.
There is another grant opportunity I heard about last week. A tight deadline coming up with the 20th of this month, but Anna Olivia at RCPA indicated that there is an opportunity for $100,000 of technical support for municipal upgrades. And that she's been working with and kind of supporting local jurisdictions in that. So I see Jennifer's nodding her head.
I
So
did,
she
yeah.
probably does know about this already.
Yeah, she sent it to me and I sent it on to Public Works because I don't do facilities. Public Works does facilities, so.
So just to be sure that either that is the opportunity you're talking about, or it's one that if you've already got an RFP sort of drafted, the scope of work might be there, maybe just quick and easy to dump that on them before the deadline. Just a suggestion, I have no idea how hard it is to put those things together. They should be easy. Cities should not have to do RFPs.
Okay, thank you. Last item for government operations, Public Works did replace a gas-fired water heater in the courtyard in March of 2025. Going on to our final category, carbon sequestration. There was the citywide tree inventory and urban tree canopy study that was conducted, which starts, checks some boxes and starts some new boxes to begin checking off this year. That was a huge accomplishment for multiple departments. And as far as carbon offset.
Just while you're on trees, I would note that over the past year, there's been intensive discussion of green links opportunities in the city of Sonoma, and I'm anticipating that will continue this year with further opportunities to look for effective green links.
And in 2025, staff did work with BAREN and RCPA, now SCTCA, on regional program development for carbon offset program.
As we get closer to 2030, should we decide that we're not fully and completely achieving our goals, we may have to intensify our looking at the carbon offset side of the game. That can probably wait another 6 to 12 months, but it's going to be looming as we get closer to 2030.
And to close out, just some general accomplishments in the world of sustainability. The Climate Smart Sonoma public information effort in the fourth quarter of 2025 had many ways the City of Sonoma and CAC are working to reach climate goals. And there were identified 4 priority conservation areas in the city, with the Association of Bay Area Governments, known as ABAG, and the Metropolitan Transportation Commission, MTC, to make city eligible for funding of projects within those areas. And there was a sustainability coordinator hired at the end of 2025. So,
The
Congrats
last
on
one
all
was
of-
said with good emotion. Thank you. Comments from commissioners on this
Is
presentation?
that
Mr.
courtesy
McCloskey?
of the ABAG money that we were able to get another person, sustainability person?
No, we actually used general fund that was identified in through our general fund requests last year for the position, for a part-time position. ABAG MTC, we submitted preliminary funding actual request. Jacob, help me here.
Sorry.
Submitted the preliminary funding for the priority conservation area grant.
Yeah, so there was an opportunity to submit a pre-application to be pretty much open up an opportunity to put in a full application for grant funding. I think it's up to $1 million to upgrade the PCA areas. And we put in for, it's kind of up in the air. We're going to be putting in a full application soon. I think the deadline is in end of March, working with Dave Johns to do that, and Caitlin Cornwall with SEC. So improving like bike paths and bike path connections, as well as existing trail safety and habitat restoration on, I think it was Friar Creek and Nathanson Creek. So that's kind of what we're aiming at the moment. Nothing's set in stone yet as to what the project's going to look like or what we're requesting, because we have to work on it currently. But we've been offered, or we've been selected as basically a community that can apply for the full grant funding at this time.
Excellent. Well done. Calvin, did you have your hand up?
Is it okay to ask questions?
Yes, of course.
So I'm new to this. Is this plan the city's version of a Green Deal, or?
Jennifer.
So I would look at you, but the microphone's in front of me, so sorry about that. Hi. So the climate action strategies were adopted in 2024, and it's not a full climate action plan. It's something so that we could get pen to paper and get it adopted and get started. And we are going to be working on a climate action plan, which is like the green plan, and look at that after we adopt a general plan. Get that going, get that done first, where a lot of different policies and thoughts have come together through this commission, and could help with a future climate action plan. So there's no numbers associated with GHG reduction like there would be in a climate action plan. So.
Thank you.
And many of us, myself certainly included, love plans, but we really more so love implementation. So the idea is to move from concepts and ideas into actually taking action, as in Climate Action Commission. So plan is good, action is even better. We're moving to another topic now in the
Actually, this
summary?
is the time for ad hoc committees to maybe give updates. So this is part of what we've done, and then we'll go dive into what we're gonna do, and then finish up with the general plan.
Can I make a quick little
Yes, but
note?
you
too?
can.
Thank
You
you.
have the floor.
I loved this from both sides. It was really great to see, because I think we do get bogged down in what we need to do. And I think it's important to note, maybe it feels like 2025 felt leaner, but it was sort of entwined throughout our accomplishments. But 2025, one of our biggest work goals was the general plan updates. So every single meeting, the bulk of it had to do with getting our goals into the general plan. So that way, going forward in the future, our community would be climate action focused. So that maybe isn't explicitly stated, but I think it's important to note that that was the bulk of our work this past year, and all of our meetings were focused on that.
Thank you, Amber. So let's be sure we know where we are now. We're moving to
Water conservation,
water conservation goals.
cash for turf ad hoc report.
Right, the ad hoc.
So I just passed out a written report that we only just finished today, but the gist of it is that Leo and I have continued to explore the city's water conservation progress, and in particular, the mandate of this ad hoc was to look at the Cash for Turf program, and so that was documented in our report we did in May of last year, but subsequently we reached out to the folks who set up the plant picker and the basis of the city's new tree list. And we talked with them about some of our concerns about both the completeness of that online database as well as the methodology that was used to develop the list of plants that are being recommended under the Sonoma Marin Water Saving Partnership. The concern that Leo in particular I think has elucidated is that it looks like a lot of our water conservation behavior is not based on really solid science. And it's not a big surprise because data on evapotranspiration rates is obscure in California right now. And so we basically confirmed that in speaking with the folks at UCCE, and the conversation is documented in this report. So without belaboring it any longer, I just encourage you to read the report, and I think this can be appended to tonight's package, even though it was produced late, and so I appreciate your attention to that. Thank you.
Excellent. Is there any questions or comments on this water conservation presentation from commissioners?
And again, I think follow-up with the urban water management plan is the next major milestone in that ad hocs list of recommendations. We're going to be talking about whether those ad hocs should be collapsed and reformed, and but that's our next step if we were to continue.
I would just add that in this, at the last minute, we added this graph that's in there. And we had, a group of researchers and I had done research on 1900 through 2020 and the Napa Valley and in the Sonoma Valley, all the major wine regions of California. And what we noted was that it seemed we were pretty fearful of reporting this to the California wine industry because the industry is reporting a 1.1 degree centigrade rise in the temperature of the planet for marketing purposes. The wine industry marketers are doing that. And we were coming up with a number just below 1.5 degrees for Napa Valley on average. And so we would be, you know, people told me, you can't say that. I can't be your friend if you say that. And now it came out in the Financial Times in the end of this last year in November that the temperature is actually up 1.8 degrees of the planet. And it's just accelerating like a stock bubble. It's not going up linearly at all. And we're certainly going to cross 2 degrees centigrade soon. And that's just very startling. And so what happens with that is the amount of water coming off the land through evapotranspiration of the plants is accelerating geometrically up. So a 1 degree rise from no rise to 1 degree, you would have an evapotranspiration rate of about 500,000 gallons for an acre of grapes. So as you accelerate up through 1.5 and 1.8 degrees, it goes up to 900,000 to 1 million gallons for the same acre of grapes. And what's going to happen is the plants just can't keep up. So that's happening with the trees. The trees need a lot of water. So some kind of more rational look at a tree list would be useful. And that's the end of that.
Thank you, Leo. Norma, this category 4.1 on tonight's agenda also calls for an ad hoc committee education and outreach presentation. Would you like to summarize some of what that ad hoc has been doing?
Well, I would like to turn a portion of this over to our new sustainability coordinator, Antoinette. She has been working diligently with John and Amber and I on Earth Day and is now in the lead position. So if you could talk about where we are and what we're going to be doing, that would be great.
Absolutely.
That would be great, and then there may be some other comments from one of us on the overall work of the E&O team.
Absolutely. Earth Day is going to be a very exciting day in the city of Sonoma. We are going to be supporting and partnering for the first time with the Sonoma Community Center. This will be the 16th year that they are having their Trash and Fashion and Trash Bash events here in Sonoma that support sustainability and community. And so this will be the inaugural collaboration between Sonoma Community Center and the City of Sonoma with the inspiration, lead, and enthusiasm from the Climate Action Commission, and so we will be partnering with them for their Trash Bash event that was previously occurring a week after the Trash and Fashion show. And so now it will be known as Trash Bash Earth Day. And the event will be taking place on Saturday, April 25th at the Community Center from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. There is going to be save the date information, marketing information, publications, and outreach about the details for the event and what you can expect there. They will be going out soon, along with, there will be a press release coming out very soon from the Sonoma Community Center about their Trash and Fashion events, and then we will be doing a joint press release after that about the collaboration of the CAC and the city and Sonoma Community Center on this great inaugural event.
Thanks, Antoinette. And I'd like to add the focus from the CAC at this point. John is spearheading volunteerism and connecting with public services along with Dave Johns, right? And Amber is spearheading hospitality, wine, food, and businesses with Mark Bodenhammer. And then I'm working on whatever's left. Ecology and other related issues. So it's been a great kickoff to a rocky start, but I really want to thank the city for putting so many resources on this and for bringing in Antoinette to lead the charge. I do want to say that this year is a little bit different than what we see for next year. You know, we started a little late and we didn't have all our resources in place. So we are really learning how to develop Earth Day. And as soon as Earth Day completes this year, we'll debrief and we'll start to set the foundation for Earth Day, likely on the plaza next year, but definitely in partnership with SEC and the Sonoma Community Center and the Chamber and the Visitors Bureau. So it's the start, and I thank my colleagues and I really thank the city.
Comments and questions, team?
So I'm excited about this, but I want to be sure I understand. Trash and Fashion is a for fee event, right? So the people who would participate are having to pay to participate. That strikes me as it's an opportunity to present that audience with climate action advocacy or recommendations. And so I'm curious if that's something you guys are thinking about, or if I'm just misunderstanding.
If I may. So we are definitely thinking about that. We're fortunate we will have an opportunity to use the theater in the center, and we're looking at panel discussions, we are looking at presentations, so pending time, availability. And please, my fellow commissioners, send, okay, I have to look at Jennifer, send Antoinette, because you can't send to me, your ideas and people that you would like to see be exhibited. We don't have as large of a space as we would have at the plaza, and we're partnering with the community center, so we need approvals from many places. But please don't hesitate, because we'll capture those names, those exhibitors, those businesses, and if we don't use them next year, they will become part of the foundation for outreach for next year. So please send things to Antoinette and she'll brief us. So thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank Norma and Amber, because I remember this was starting to stall, and then it sputtered, and then you guys kept it going. And I heard about it through the Fig restaurant, since I've been in the wine industry, and yeah, they're talking about it down there. How can they take things, the disposables like their crayon, and they're making a dress. And yeah, you might want to talk to Kim over there.
Excellent update on the exciting events planned for April with the support of the city and the ad hoc team from the Climate Action Commission. Well done, team. Other elements of the E&O team report over the year 2025, we've had excellent conversations with the Chamber of Commerce in particular. We've had an ongoing, pretty much monthly meetings, not only with the Chamber itself, but with representatives from the Chamber, senior representatives from the whole hotel industry, the restaurant industry, and the wine industry, meeting regularly. A big part of the idea of an EV trolley, some of which we heard about earlier this evening, came out of those discussions, and those discussions continue. And it's an excellent example of environmental climate team interfacing with the business economics team in a positive way, rather than any kind of pushing and pulling against one another. So I think the E&O team's done a nice job on that, and I anticipate that continuing this year in 2026. Other comments on that area of accomplishments? Sounds like we are there.
Just
Yes,
every
sir.
time I hear the Chamber of Commerce, and I know that the strong ties of the wine industry, I really question the future of wine tasting room revenues and all that. That must not be very solid with the temperature rising. And also just all the scuttlebutt I hear from the wine industry. It's pretty dire. Are the revenues down from the tasting rooms?
I don't have numbers on that right now. I would say that, per our discussions that we've been having around the general plan, we're looking out 40 years, right? And like any healthy economy, we need to diversify our economy. And so we've talked about other industries and other ways to diversify, including more focus even on our heritage tourism side of things. So yeah, we'll look more at that economic element when it comes back out, because we did it probably like 6 months ago. But when it comes back out, and some other ideas as we look forward. And, we, like everything, we day by day. We go day by day right now.
Well, beyond day by day, there are serious discussions underway within the local environmental and climate community more generally about the future of grape growing and the wine industry. and the potential uses of land that might be taken out of production and entered into other uses. And this becomes an important issue from the point of view of vehicle travel, from the point of view of housing. There are a number of perspectives that are heavily underway, and all of us as commissioners and any one of the hundreds and thousands listening to this evening in the public can be well aware of the fact that change is coming in the local wine industry, and there are serious decisions to be made about how to best do it and how to best avoid some of the downsides that will be present. Looks to me, unless there's further comment from any of my colleagues under item 4.2, that we're ready to move to 4.3. Do I see any disagreement on that?
We're moving to
Ms.
4.
Jennifer?
We're moving to 4.2.
Oh, yes, I got the numbers wrong. Teach me to do it without my glasses on. 4.2, draft goals and a CAC work plan development process.
Yes.
Jennifer.
It's me. All right, so we are going to be I'm going to go through the updated draft 2026 council goals. Vice Chair Conlon was at the goal setting session and did provide public comment as an individual, not representing the commission. I don't know that you were able to stay for the whole thing. So here is the draft. The reason why I say draft is because City Council has not adopted these. That's going to occur next week. These are the ones that have been published on the city's website as the draft ones. So based on the conversations that have been had, the idea was we're going to take 2025 goals. They went through all the accomplishments at that meeting of those goals, and there's still more to be done in these same categories. And so they were updated for 2026 and then added in some details. So everywhere you see red, that's the changes that were happening in 2026. So the idea behind unification and annexation, they've had conversations around, and really it was brought into just really focus on our regional partnerships as a valley, because we know that we are not an island, but our valley feels sometimes like an island as a whole. In the housing world, pretty much just keep going, implementing our housing element. Really talked about renters protections, and also, talking a little bit about more partnerships around creating housing with different entities. And then our participation in different projects in the valley and the county to increase our housing availability in a variety of housing types. Parks, Recreation, Arts was added in this one, and community services. We made progress last year, obviously, by creating a Parks and Recreation department and hiring a director. And so now it's to build on that and move forward with a lot of the projects. In our Parks and Recreation, we do have the cemeteries are under that as well. And so that's been a focus of, also the city is getting our cemeteries to be self-sustaining. I don't know of any other city that has 3 cemeteries that they manage in 2.7 square miles. Let me just note that. But they're very neat.
I'm glad to see that cemeteries are becoming self-sustaining.
That's our goal. That's our goal. Because, a self-sustained, it's very good. Have you walked through them lately? They're getting very clean. We're doing a lot of volunteer work, so they're doing great. So again, partnerships are brought up in this area as well, around our sister cities and cultural partnerships, and around the arts. Just going back, here's your green links. It's still on there. And then increasing our tree canopy, shade, sidewalk network. So there's a climate slide on here too, but remember there's a lot of things that we have crossover around these different initiatives. So these are the few that they're being identified: parks, recreation, pedestrian safety and accessibility, and then creating a park on the west side of town. And I know that's been discussed also as opportunities to increase tree canopy coverage, things like that.
I'm especially fond of the explore ideas to generate funding on the plaza. As you know, that's been
Yes. Economic development, financial stability, going kind of back to what we were talking about a little bit, you know, just broadening different ways to access our local businesses. Parklets was brought back up again, which was interesting. That hadn't been brought up in a couple of years. Diversifying our business sector, as I noted earlier. We are doing a plaza corridor, not the corridor master plan, but a really focused, plaza corridor master plan RFP did go out, so that's starting. As you noted, Commissioner McCloskey, you know, we're participating in regional discussion on impacts of the wine industry on our region and what does that look like. I'm actually going to the economic development for Sonoma County meeting next month, and I think this is going to be one of those topics probably. So looking at different things around the city's economic development and financial stability. Here's the one talking more about regional partnerships on different issues and unification. And then last but not least, climate mitigation and adaptation to support the commission to implement and track. So bringing back some of the conversation that you guys were having about wanting to track some of the things that we're doing with actual numbers. And then also a strategic plan and other sustainability initiatives. The tree policy and plantings, it was brought up to add encouraging native planting. I know that from my own experience in Southern California that native plants doesn't really make sense anymore because our climate has changed. So the word native plants has a certain connotation, but I think it really meant in that discussion, it's really about the climate appropriate plantings and going along with some of the conversations we already had. So we recognize that, it's just a different term. So, and then also continuing to work with our vulnerable populations that are affected by what's going on with the climate, and then also our resiliency moving forward. So with that, can you take that off? Thank you. With that, I am going to have Antoinette actually kick off our work plan discussion. I have asked her to look at the strategies that we've had, what we've been working on, obviously, for the last couple of years, and identify what, because I know this group likes actions, and implementation. I know, we've done things, we've done a lot of things, but what are those things that we've gotten to a certain point that she can help us get us over the line? So that's what I have asked her to identify. So she's gonna present her ideas for a work plan that she will be working on. There's other things that she'll be working on that that's on the work plan but doesn't necessarily incorporate the commission's potential work plan and potential ad hocs to assist. So I'm gonna ask her to present her ideas for 2026.
Okay, so 2026, I've had the opportunity to meet with a few of you and hear about your personal stories with Sonoma and what you are passionate about and really passionate about. And I'm really grateful for that, and I hope to get to meet with the rest of you soon. As far as the climate action strategies document and looking at 2026 and what we can actually accomplish and implement and call them actions, I really would like to focus on our community, our front-facing community assets, our website, our newsletter, our social media, and our community outreach channels, including possible campaigns with the programs that we have already that have been successful and we would like to support and maybe revive in some cases. Things like Sort at Sonoma, Compost at Sonoma, Cash for Turf, and other, and also the Bay Run programs. And so monies and help and funding available to residents for improvements to their homes and sustainability actions, and making that information easy, accessible, obvious, and providing resources for them to be able to implement the things that we're trying to implement at the city level. So that is a long-winded way of saying I would like to get sustainability front and center for the residents of Sonoma and for us, so we can get some metrics tracked in some of those areas. And I will be working with other city departments and reading plans and understanding future plans and trying to locate funding opportunities where possible for different projects that are underway for 2026. And the other big goals that I see that could be impactful and ultimately very helpful for the future of the city of Sonoma is to work on some of the policy items that are called out specifically in the climate action strategies document. The ban on new fossil fueling stations, as well as the idling reduction strategy. And so I think that those can be really impactful and community supported as well. There are some other policy items that are called out in the climate action strategies document that warrant further exploration, expert opinions, and research to see if those would also be helpful and impactful for the community here to look at starting to implement, or at least discussing in 2026.
So with that, summarize really quickly, 3 main things. One is ordinance development and policy development. We've already worked a lot on getting a lot of that information for the ordinances, and so it's just taking it over the finish line at this point. I don't think we need an ad hoc around that. I want to make sure it's on our work plan though. It's just not that the commission needs to be as involved. I would ask that Commissioner Hinerman and Commissioner Conlon, who worked on those things, help with the actual introduction and topic with the Planning Commission on that when it gets a study session. So that would be something that we would ask for your participation. I don't need an ad hoc for that. The other being, we've always had an ad hoc around education and outreach, and in talking to Antoinette, we have talked about separating those 2 items, focusing more outreach as in like a marketing campaign kind of component. The way that in her work plan she worded it was campaigning, and so in my mind I was like, well, that to me is more marketing side of things. So reviving the Sort at Sonoma program and the Compost at Sonoma campaigns, so like those different types of programs that we've done for campaigning or promoting versus education, things that we haven't really developed or created and probably need to develop materials around. So if we were to maybe separate those, I think we have people that are interested in those different things, right? And then the other, we've done a lot of research on the cash for turf already. So I think we have enough information, so I don't necessarily recommend ad hoc on that, but I do want it to be maintained on the work plan, because really it's going to take Antoinette to work with Ashley to actually get, if we can, get that grant modified to be able to expand our offerings. Because I feel like those that are going to participate in Cash for Turf have, and that they do have the ability, that grant had, I think, 4 or 5 options available to be used with that funds. For some reason, when the city applied years ago, they only applied for that component. So understanding why and understanding about it a little bit more would just help us move that needle as well on that program and see it through. I feel like a lot of the things that we've done over the last 2 years have brought it to a certain point, and we've either hit a stop because we don't have funds to implement it, right? A bus. I don't have money to create a bus. But we've done a lot of research and things like that, and we're still having those discussions, making sure the thoughts are in people's heads. But these are the ones that Antoinette, when looking at it and discussing it with her, are really things that we feel like we can get over in this year. Recognizing that she works 20 hours a week, okay? She's not a full-time employee. And she's also going to be our ears with all the different agencies and different groups. So there's a lot of meetings that happen throughout every month. So we just want to use her time as wisely as possible. That doesn't mean that I'm limiting to you guys to that. I'm just saying we want to make sure that those are in the work plan and understood that that's some of, really what she's going to be focusing on. And if there's other things that the commission wants to continue to research or things like that, that's what we want to hear from you as well in developing these work plan. And then we can move to the next item and talk about ad hocs a little bit more. Commissioner Conlon brought up one of the ad hoc potentials around metrics, so we can get into that. Sound good?
Comments from commissioners on what we've been hearing? I would only add then my thought and what I've just heard, that outreach certainly fits within a marketing perspective, to be sure. If we separate the word education out, I want to be sure we're recognizing the importance of the schools and adult education, but also things like involvement. I think the E&O past work at the Chamber of Commerce is an increasingly important and illustrative element that wouldn't normally sound like education. So maybe it could be called something like education and involvement if we separate it from outreach and marketing. That would be my only thoughts on what I'm hearing.
I have a comment.
Yes, ma'am, you have the floor.
So I support having, excuse me, a resident focus and resident involvement, campaigns for residents. And I would actually love to see either a quarterly or a calendared series of events for residents. And yeah, so, and that to me, there's a little bit of a blurry line for me between education and outreach. I think they are kind of inexplicably tied together, but in either case, I want them both. So how we break it up and delineate it, I leave it up to the city, the staff, to do what's best for you, and then we can help. But I'd love to see more resident involvement, and I'd love to see more residents in our seats. And I don't think that they realize the power that they have or the needs that are in front of them and how they can make a difference. So I strongly support campaigns where that is brought to the forefront for them and they feel empowered and want to come forward to help. So thanks for identifying that.
Excellent commentary. Yes, sir.
I wonder, are there areas where there's policy, but you don't have the money to implement something, or you don't want to get crossways with the pace of change that the community can take on, like the installers of HVAC and all this and squeezing gas out? I wonder if some of that should be shifted over to, you know, advertising and campaigns instead sometimes. Like, just because you don't have the money, we could maybe have a campaign. I don't know. We would have to, it would take money, wouldn't it? Is that one of the things you need, money?
So, I'm just real quick on that one,
Yeah.
is, we can't mandate, right? So, how do we incentivize, and educate? So, and I'm gonna let Antoinette maybe comment on the difference in her thoughts around marketing versus education a little bit. I have some thoughts, but, so, but, you know, the power of the word, right? And the power of the people. Like, when I know that it's hard to campaign and things, and not everything needs to be a piece of paper, especially for the Climate Action Commission. But how do we get, you know, we know people at the Sun. So, I mean, just those types of things, right? How do we get pieces in, you know, whether it's an article here and there, or is it an ad, is it in these different modes? Because not everybody is signed up for our lovely newsletter at the city, but there may be other ways to get the word out. But that's where, in our minds, I think was really about best utilizing and having you help us identify what those are, and through these different ad hocs.
I have a comment. So, Antoinette, we started a master list of relationships that we've identified in the city that will help us with outreach. And when we did the Nightingales movie, and when last year, and when I did the Sonoma Immigrant Services event, we reached out to our partners, and they spread the word, and we filled the theater. You know, there was standing room only for the Sonoma Immigration Services event. And I see that working really well for us. Now, we haven't done anything with that list, and every time I talk to David, he's like, what about the list? What about the list? So I want you to know that that exists, and I'd like to work with you on really making that robust. We each have relationships with those businesses and nonprofits, and we need to identify who has the strongest relationships and who can be the point of contact so that we can get the word out. And we can talk about that with Earth Day. But that exists, and that is a priority for me, to make that list robust and implementable.
Tom?
So I agree that the city's proper role is leading by example, and then helping get the word out about the resources and programs that are already there. And so continuing to strengthen these information flow from Zero Waste, Bay Ren, our water partners, all of these regional players. A lot of the things are there. There's money available in the building space. We did get our legs cut out from underneath us in the last year with REACH codes, and funding is going to continue to be problematic for the folks that have a hard time paying for building improvements. Interesting ideas coming out of Sacramento right now in the wake of budget constraints. And so watch that space. I'll be bringing some ideas forward in the new policy areas, but the ones that are high on my list are balcony solar, which is going to be no policy necessary at the city, but just validation that it's real. Once that is there, the city may want to use its legislative capacity or its legislative advocacy capacity on a couple of bills. I have a list, I'll talk about them in the announcement section. And so for this next year, as I think we agree, we want to move on metrics and we want to move on improving the outreach and promotion of the things we know people ought to be doing all around. And so that's the platform we're working on this year. Big new policy swings, probably not within our wheelhouse this year. So I support that discussion. I will take it upon myself to explore some of the transit-related issues. We were supposed to get, the transit sales tax funding doubled between Measure M and Go Sonoma. So the transit agency at the county level is getting twice as much local money. One of the things they promised was an extra bus route to the Sonoma Valley. It was, I believe, introduced as a pilot. I don't know that it ever materialized. I know that they put a bus stop outside of the Homeless Action Sonoma, put a bench outside that micro village, and then they took it back out again. And there is interest at the county level in supporting the valley, but they forget about us. I'm hoping that our new county administrator will have a harder time forgetting about us than has been previously the case. That's very exciting. And I especially took note of the fact that he'll be starting, I think, at this county on 4/20, which is a nice nod to those of us who are familiar with Marin County habits.
Thank you. Other comments on this? No, John, please.
I guess, like many people here, I was lucky enough to go to the State of the Valley that was in the Sebastiani Theater. And I couldn't help thinking, like, couldn't the city put on something like that in the Sebastiani and invite whoever it was from the general public that wanted to come and to just hear about all the issues that we talk about in the city. I mean, of course, they can scour the website or they might know people that talk about things, but to have it's very powerful to have a group of people with a shared sense of community all in the same building. So, you just feel like you're part of the community. So just wanted to mention that.
Excellent. Next steps.
So, I didn't hear anything added. But besides metrics, I knew I had that one on my list, but other than the metrics, I mean, as far as the strategies go, we had the list and the accomplishments. I just didn't know if there was anything in our strategies that we felt that we wanted to kind of lean in on or do some research on from you guys, or basically, do you guys want some homework associated with that you guys are interested in and we can put into that work plan? Because remember, we present this work plan to council of these are the things that we're going to work on this year. That's our next steps after this, is we take your thoughts and this is the things that we're going to focus on. And so I do have, the education, the outreach, our ordinances, developing metrics, and then cash for turf.
Yeah, and when we say cash for turf, we're thinking the whole stack of urban water management plan
Correct.
actions. And cash for turf is probably the most important one for Sonoma Valley, for City of Sonoma, but there may be others in that stack that we haven't taken full advantage of. So as long as that coordination is between our commission and Public Works, who's actually implementing all of that, and frankly, the ability of the new AMI, the metering system, make sure that those opportunities are going to be fully exploited as fast as possible. I know it's extra work for the staff in getting additional information out that's based on that AMI data. But I think a lot of this is digital now, and the tools are there, and they're built into the service we're already paying for. So as long as we know what those things are and can get that information out to Sonoma water ratepayers, that could potentially move the needle this year. So that's one of the findings, I think, of our work in water this year.
Sounds good. Yes, sir.
I guess there's one climate action ad hoc you're thinking about, and was there another one, right? I wonder if there's something in this bailiwick that Norma's talking about and that you were talking about, advertising, outreach. I think I always get excited about that the way you did, John, but what's the event, like a wedding planner would do for the city? What event, is there anything you really want, like an event at the Sebastiani where a lot of the small cities do TEDx events? I wonder if there's anything like that. It's not, it probably isn't part of, it wouldn't just be CAC, it would just be very general.
You are going to be ruining the surprise for Earth Day that Norma and I are working on. We will announce it very soon, but we are working on some climate leaders speaking in a TED style, as well as panel discussions at our Earth Day event. But one of the things that we've been talking about is using what we learn from putting this event and producing it. What can we do the rest of the year that's similar? We're making connections now with different leaders, educators, vendors, businesses, nonprofits to create this event. And what else can we do? And I think that's the component of education. And that's how in my mind, I'm differentiating it from the outreach marketing. The education component is having small, large, medium, virtual education opportunities for the community of different types, whether it's contractors and people who are renovating homes, and working with Bayrun, very specific educational opportunities that are available that we can bring to Sonoma, or is it environmentalists and climate activists and thought leaders that we want, or are we having panel discussions about waste and sorting and utilizing our friends at the Recology Center and talking about those types of efforts, or are we doing an educational experience where we're analyzing AMI data? I'm sure that'll be a highly attended event. I'll be there. Don't worry. Where we talk about water conservation, we look at numbers and charts, and I'm sure that there are residents who are interested in that, and that can also be done virtually. So that's kind of where I was thinking with education, was really getting in-person kind of boots on the ground, talking to people, whereas marketing and campaigning is talking about the programs that we've invested in as a city, the programs we want to invest in or we're trying to get grant funding for, and then also programs that are freely available that a lot of residents may not be aware of. And utilizing our city website is a huge component of that, but how many people are utilizing the city website and those pages? And taking a business term, what's the return on investment of us working on that versus another type of campaign or a more targeted type of campaign or outreach? And so that's where I envision the difference between those two things, where it can be really impactful. And both of those topics touch on multiple items and categories throughout the climate action strategies. So we can hit a lot of different initiatives, programs, ideas, and implementation plans through that. And I know that each of you have different interests and passions along those lines. So that's where I'm excited we can work together on those. Yeah, I think that does that help explain a little bit better?
Yeah, I wonder if maybe just to leave it, maybe there's something bigger. Napa put on something in 2007 and 8 called Taste Cubed, and the TED people came in and helped put that together at Copia. And I could see that you could have something that would work with the Chamber of Commerce, be a multi-barreled solution. You could have a taste for climate change, a taste for quality, there's always a fashionable taste, trash and fashion. There are a lot of aspects to taste. There's always a taste for literature. So it could be that you have something that would hold an eventful like atmosphere that the Chamber of Commerce might want to peddle, and that maybe the hotels would want to put money up for. It's just.
Yeah. I appreciate that insight, and having spent 2 decades of my career as an event producer and marketer, I can confirm that bigger is always better, and we can reach and do some big, really fabulous things over here in Sonoma, similar to what they've done in Napa. And don't tell my colleagues in Napa, we could probably do it better here. So I think as we really start to work on our ideas, and I want to hear from the community, and I want to hear from the commission on what is needed, then we can start to expand and focus and come up with big collaborations and big ideas. But we definitely have to get our feet underneath us first. And if we can get the little things done and the smaller events done well, then we can just keep building on it.
Yeah, I really like that. I mean,
that sounds good? Okay, great.
These are excellent comments. Welcome aboard. Commissioner Fogelberg.
Yeah, Leo, so what I was talking about earlier is having a series of events throughout the year on topics that are so engaging with leaders that people want to listen to and ask questions of. And we're putting the foundation of that to work and to explore with Earth Day. And like Antoinette said, let us get through this. We do have panel discussions, and I'd love to bring in someone from the neurosciences at UCSF to talk about not just waste, but what happens when it starts to impact our body. It's not just how we recycle, but how we're affected. And so we have so many options, and just know that we're thinking out there.
I like a lot of what I'm hearing, that's for sure, about education, about outreach. I would simply add to your long discussion about education, outreach in the schools. Some time ago, a youth commissioner, Kendall Clemens, and I did some personal presentations in the high school that went very, very well, had high school students of interest. We should not forget the schools, not only because of the impact of our youth, but it's an excellent way to reach the community residents as they take thoughts and paperwork or electronic versions thereof home.
David, can I just add
Yes,
one
ma'am.
thing? I really, Antoinette, we haven't talked about this. I really want us to think about our Hispanic community and our communication to that community, and really become bilingual in these efforts. So, because we do, it's about the Valley.
So if we don't have another item to add to the work plan, I recommend we close this item and deal with the ad hocs.
I believe we've reached that point. Is there any?
Okay.
I just have
Other
one
thoughts,
last comment, if I
Mr.
can
Tom?
squeeze in there about the city goal on economic development. I'm pleased to see bike racks, parklets, and selective street closures, and I noticed that Tim Zahner spoke at that goals meeting, bringing his support for that, and the idea of also plaza revenue production at some point. So to the extent that that can be integrated with the event concept. I just remember how successful the readers' books, poetry on the soapbox, closed the street and had poetry on a soapbox, and it got Bill Moyers' attention, and he made a national, put Sonoma on the map nationally when that happened. So we could do something like that in the climate space, and it would be pretty exciting. So,
Jennifer,
If we're ready to move on.
we are, I believe we are ready to move on to the next item.
All right.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
We had, and I forgot to write this down, so I'm going by memory. I think we had 4 ad hocs that we had created last year. We disbanded the budget one earlier. We had the cash for turf. We had education and outreach. Help me, general plan update. That was the 4th. There we go. Haha, I got him. So, it's been a year. General plan one is almost done. So, good job, guys. All the elements are out and it's done, and we're going to talk about the last one tonight. And then after that, I'm just going to present it as a whole to you guys. So you as individuals will review and then come together as a commission. Because at that point, we're in basically final draft. We're looking for, just some thoughts and recommendations for consideration by Planning Commission and then City Council at that point, unless there's something that I really need to think about. And at that point, you'll also be, the EIR will be available. So that general plan one can be disbanded. Education and outreach, like we talked about, we're talking about separating into 2 different topics. So disband and put something new back together on that one. And then, what was my cash for turf? We're done with as well, unless there's additional waters and you want to recreate that one around water, but we didn't have anything in the work plan around water, so that's why I was asking about if there's anything that we really wanted to focus on from that. The other ad hoc that you guys had initially discussed, or that was brought up by Commissioner Conlon, was the metrics side of things. So with that, I will let you guys discuss, make recommendations, but probably vote to disband all maybe in one motion.
Probably can, though we're splitting education outreach into 2. That means disbanding the existing one. That's certainly feasible. Any further comments on this from my colleagues?
I have a comment.
Nora?
Now that Calvin has joined us, I'd like to suggest we look at how we can include him in this process. I know we have education, but I'd like to hear, and maybe it's not tonight, but Antoinette, you might be able to meet with him, or you and I might be able to meet with you, Calvin, to find out where your interests are, what your passion is. I think many of us up here really want the schools to be much more involved. And that potentially could be an ad hoc if you were interested in that. So I just want to drop that into the conversation. And he has a...
Thank you, and I will do that 100%. Only thing I'll add is I don't attend a school here in Sonoma Valley. Only thing I'll add is I don't attend a school here in Sonoma Valley.
So we may need other ways to reach out to the schools by one or more of the commissioners themselves as a process of the effective involvement of the high school and the other schools. That becomes important.
But from the perspective of youth, too, there's a lot still
Absolutely.
to contribute,
Yeah.
regardless of where
Yeah.
you go to school. It's
Yeah,
okay.
of course.
So I think so far I've heard. So let's disband. Let's do that vote first,
Let's
and then
get that done first. So how many ad hocs are existent at the moment?
There are
3?
3 existent.
Let's
so
name them.
education, outreach.
So I will move to suspend the existing ad hocs, which are general plan update ad hoc, the water and cash for turf ad hoc, and the education and outreach ad hoc.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and seconded. Commissioner commentary. Not seeing a lot of commentary at 8:05. We will go to a vote on this motion that's been seconded. Poll the delegation, please.
Commissioner Baston,
Aye.
Commissioner McCloskey,
Aye.
Commissioner Heinerman,
Yes.
Commissioner Fogelberg,
Aye.
Commissioner Ward,
Aye.
Vice Chair Conlon,
Yes.
Chair Morrell,
Aye, unanimous.
and Youth Member Stevens.
There we go.
Yes.
There
The
we go.
motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. So now new ad hocs.
So the 3 new ad hocs I have heard, so correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm missing something, but one around education and community involvement, the other around outreach and marketing, and then the third around metrics development.
We have a proposal for 3 new ad hocs, presumptively 3 commissioners each, though that will emerge as the discussion occurs. Are there any other ad hocs that commissioners would want to add to the list? Norm?
Well, we did mention youth.
So I was thinking around that, so he can participate in however many he wants. Because he's a non-voting member, it doesn't count towards our Brown Act, so we could have 3 commissioners plus a youth on it. So depending on what his interests are, what we've stated so far around that is really around the, education and developing education and what the youth would be interested in learning about or hearing about, and then also could potentially contribute. We could contribute also during our discussions in the meetings as well. We always talk about other opportunities for marketing and outreach. So we can find out more about interest of his and ability, and time, and things like that, right? We don't want to give homework.
Jennifer, because Calvin's not a voting member, can there be 3 members of an ad hoc, and can Calvin participate?
Yes.
Okay, I just
That's
want to
what
be
I'm
clear
hearing.
about that.
He doesn't count against the numbers
Thank
on
you.
the 3 because he doesn't vote.
Correct.
Yep. So yes.
I wonder if a word or an adjective or adverb could be added to communication, but about what? And outreach or education about what? A word. It could just be a placeholder. Yeah.
I'll leave that to you guys to come up with, if you come up with something. But
Well,
do we have another?
Shall we take them but one at a time for the vote?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we didn't have another idea around one before, so that people can decide kind of what you guys want to participate on, if there's any other ad hoc that's of interest.
I just want to be sure that with these 3 ad hocs, if we stop there, we're adequately covering VMT reduction, which is the core element throughout. While electricity use and natural gas reduction is important, the main name of the game for 2030 is VMT reduction. And is that adequately covered in these pieces of the 3 ad hocs? I would ask my vice chair to particularly comment on that.
I'll let him comment on it, but my comment in general would be, it depends on what angle you're gonna wanna take around that. In that sense of what does that mean? Is that educating people about alternative modes of travel? Is it around metrics, which they've done great strides around that? So I'll let Tom add on.
Yeah, that's kind of in sync with what I was thinking, is that the work of staff and the metrics ad hoc in sort of focusing us on what it is we really want to score points on this year should be what drives both the education, community involvement work, as well as any outreach and marketing, website updates, whatnot. So that's how it's coming together in my mind. I think Leo raised a good question about, well, what are we really doing here? I think what we're doing is defined by the work we have done to date, which is memorialized in this discussion tonight and the documents that y'all have prepared in our packet, and that the city council, frankly, has prepared in setting our goals, and that the community is informed. The one thing that's still, to David's question of, you know, is there anything missing, to the last point? I'm still feeling like the mandate of this commission includes adaptation, and we have paid almost no attention to it around this table, with the exception about what we're moving to, like the safety element and the general plan in general. So, if anything, we never have time in the context of the meetings to talk about that, but maybe an ad hoc, it's time for an ad hoc to talk about adaptation.
John?
I was just going to say that just the concept of and the ideas around adaptation could be covered under education as well.
I agree, but I'm thinking in terms of just getting that focus that we have now on our mitigation portfolio of strategies and now work plan. We don't have a clear idea, I think, about what activities we might begin to promote to make Sonoma adaptable and resilient in this next period of time. I think there's very general statements in the general plan to date, but in terms of policies, programs, and activities, I don't think we have a good grasp of that yet. So I think it's premature. I mean, unless others disagree, that we want to delegate that to the education committee and have it be an explicit part of that ad hoc's role, that might make sense. But I think it's asking the ad hoc, the education, to do two different things.
It's really quite different. It's in the revised version that I've seen of the safety general plan, new element, it's strengthened a bit the commentary about the importance of adaptation to climate, both with respect to water and fire, flooding and fire. So that's there, and the evacuation issues. It doesn't fit terribly precisely within it. I'm calling it, for my terms, education and community involvement ad hoc, rather than education that sounds too much like schools alone. But even there, effective climate adaptation issues of flooding and fire and evacuation routes and so on doesn't fit terribly well in that, and they're big time climate issues, and they're being raised big time with the whole SDC discussion, of course. How the hell do you get those people out of there with 900 new homes? It can be an issue with the Sebastiani Ryan Hughes decision as we get along further down that line. So maybe a separate ad hoc on this might make some sense, or maybe it should be postponed 3-6 months or something, but at some point we're going to want to have a focus on it that doesn't fit very well in these three.
Yeah, I thank you for bringing this up, Tom, and I really agree with you. I think we can start the investigation, which we haven't even put our toe in the water yet, on adaptation. And I think we have to be thinking more progressively on this topic. So I would be in favor of adding an adaptation ad hoc that researches and brings back information to us to work with, and then it can translate over into education and outreach. But I don't think it would be successful sitting with the education component, because we got plenty to do there.
Yeah, and an ad hoc like that could bring further actions back into this commission in 3 or 6 months.
Agreed.
About things we begin to start pushing City Hall on with respect to these themes of community survival driven by climate risk.
All right, so we have 4.
So
Okay.
we have 4 potential.
Well, we
ad
have 4
hoc.
potential. It depends on who actually wants to participate in one,
Yeah,
right? So
right.
if
But
I have no people, I have no ad hoc. Just saying.
That's real ad hocery.
All right, so your 4 to think about. So remember, you don't have to be on one at all. That is not a requirement to sit on the commission. You do not need to do that. I just want to state that.
So let's review the 4
Well, just a second. I'm going to give you your rules of engagement here.
rules. I love rules.
I know. You know how much I do. So I would ask, given that we're doing 4 and that there are only 7 plus 1, 8 of you, but counts but doesn't count kind of thing. Yes, you can have 3, but I ask that you really think about one that you really want to be on as your number 1. Write it down. And then number 2, which one, if you want to be in 2, what's your number 2? Because if there's multiple people, like I have 4 maybe that are interested in participating in 1, but you really want to go on another one, then I'm going to ask you to go on the other one so that the 3 that want to do. So I think it's helpful if you write it down what you really want to do, and then that way that'll help you guys with your
So let's be sure we know the names of the 4.
I am.
Are you doing that or am I?
I'm gotcha.
You
I got
gotcha
you.
me.
I typed.
I hand wrote.
So I've got education and community involvement as 1. The other one, the next one is outreach and marketing. Then one on metrics development. And then the last one on climate adaptation. You got them? Do I need to say them again? Are we good?
Yep.
All right. Then, sorry.
Just
So I
before
will
you
let guys
start
do
that,
it.
have we, and maybe it's just my memory, have we adequately abandoned, eliminated the existing ones by vote? Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I am going to ask for a break after this because I need to use the ladies' room. So, first one is education and involvement. Just raise your hand right now, and so that we can see how many people had education and involvement as their top 1. Education and involvement. Raise your hand if that's your top 1. All right, Hannah, can you help me here? And Antoinette. Okay, so I have Ward, Fogelberg, Morell, and Baston. Okay, so there's 4. Outreach and marketing. How many are interested in that? Oh, which one do you want? Education? Outreach and marketing. I got 1. You're going to leave him all alone. Because I'm going to end up dividing education because there's 4 of you, so think about it. That's on your number 2. All right, metrics. Really? You guys can be on if you want. And then the last one being climate adaptation. Climate adaptation. Did you see all those hands? Can I have the list? Thanks. Oh. I have the worst handwriting ever. All right, so. What are you doing?
I only wrote.
All right. All right, education. And community involvement. Yeah, I shortened it, sorry. I shortened even more to what Hannah wrote, which was ed. So, So let's see. FOGELBERG was the only one. It's the only one she wants to be on. So the rest were said that they would be willing to go to another one. And then outreach, Ward and Calvin. That's for sure. For metrics, I've got Conlon and MCCLOSKEY. And then the marketing and outreach, right? No, sorry, I already did that one. Climate adaptation, Morell, Conlon, MCCLOSKEY, Baston, and Calvin. We missed you. I am so sorry, Mr. Hineman. Okay.
And Jennifer, I have a question. I think it needs a little more definition.
Sure.
So education and community outreach. And then a community involvement? Okay, and then the
And then outreach and marketing.
and then outreach and marketing. So to me, community involvement requires outreach. You know, they kind of go together. Marketing, I know, well, I'm just looking at so maybe you can help me understand the differential for that.
In the way that I see it is education could just be education. And then outreach and involvement, community outreach and involvement, however you want to put those words together. But I mean, education and events, education and there's different ways that we can do that, but for simplicity, I think just education is the way I was looking at it.
It would make more sense for
Yeah.
community involvement and outreach to be together, because you can't get them involved if you don't reach out,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That breaks apart the focus on the schools from the focus on the business community, for example, and the work with the chamber. That's why the involvement fits, in my mind, with education, and it's different than marketing.
Yeah,
What we've
marketing
been
to
doing
me
with
is
the
kind of
chamber is not
standalone.
marketing at all. It's
Right.
energizing effective involvement by key players in the community. It's a long way from a marketing strategy.
And community involvement to me is both business and residents.
Yes.
It's all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think, and I mean, education, I'm seeing it as all as well.
Yeah.
Educating students, residents, businesses, other. So I think that that's broad.
Can you talk more about what's involved with marketing?
So,
because you mentioned like website and
yeah.
different platforms and
Yeah, so the Climate Action Strategies document from 2024 provides a definition for community-based social marketing, CBSM, which is an interesting idea. But what a marketing program would include is website updates, email campaigns, email newsletters, publishing, content, social media, providing links, and then what we were talking about, campaigns. So focusing all of those efforts on specific campaigns.
So could there be a education campaign that would be rooted in the education ad hoc, and then the marketing team would implement it?
I'm sure that there could be crossover between a lot of that work of the ad hoc. I think what would be most helpful is for the members who are on the education ad hoc would be able to provide insight, direction, ideas for events, for opportunities and topics, whereas the marketing would these would be, the members would be advising on effective communication, bilingual communication, what is needed in the community, what businesses need to hear what residents need to hear what. So really kind of identifying where that needs to happen and how do we reach, what's the best way to reach them, because it's not, like I said earlier, just updating the website is not that doesn't accommodate all residents here.
So it sounds like marketing and communication.
Yes.
And that could be one ad hoc.
Sure.
And then education and community involvement could be another ad hoc, and we could split it that way.
Sure. That sounds
And
great.
what I'm
That
hearing
sounds
is
great.
one could be called information and outreach, and the other could be called community involvement, which is too much overlap in those words?
So we can write it out a little bit clearer. The thing that's going on right now is, right now we have, Commissioner Ward has volunteered to be on the outreach, and so has Youth Commissioner Stevens. So that's two on the outreach, working on, helping with the campaigns and providing input on what's getting written and things like that. We've got 4 on the education side. So if somebody's more interested in more of that outreach and campaigning component, then I would ask that you move over to the outreach side and not in the education. Not that you can't, as you know, it's not like you guys can't participate in all things. It's just not your focus, I guess.
But I want to push back a little on this, because with the Brown Act, we really can't participate outside of this meeting.
No, but that's why I was saying, like, when we talk about it at this meeting on these things, oh, I have this idea, or things like that. And so
we really don't have a lot of time in these meetings, because we always have so much to review as a committee. So I'd like to go back to education, community involvement, and outreach as being one.
So I have been quiet on this because I too was confused about how we were going to divide up between the two. I don't know if this is helpful at this late hour, but in my business career, there was a clear distinction between sales and marketing. Yes. And I think that might be of some use in resolving this categorical challenge. In a conventional business, your marketing people are heading strategy, they're developing relationships, they're doing underlying content development. Sales team is responsible for getting those campaigns out and bringing in the dollars. So if we kind of applied that business life focus, I'm not saying we should, but it's an idea, that could be a way of splitting this up, and that the folks that want to be more, and the way I did that is I said outreach and marketing is really more outreach, and sales is how I'm interpreting it. Yeah. But community education and community involvement is more of that marketing function, the strategic and directional advice to the commission.
It was just a recommendation to split it. If we want to be in the same one, that's fine, because Ward has volunteered to be on both of those as the only one. However, I need somebody to drop off of the education and outreach, even if I join it. So who wants to drop off? Discuss.
If you're on adaptation, it leaves John, Amber, and I to do that, which is consistent with our team for Earth Day and involvement. I think that's pretty solid, and I don't feel qualified to do adaptation. I don't know how you feel about that, but that could work.
We can make that work. It means that my involvement with the chamber and the business community disappears. And you'll take care of that.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
I would caution David, you're going to still interact with the business community in town in your other roles. If you get ideas, you have a conversation, you forward it to Antoinette and she makes sure that that committee gets your input. And that's how you keep moving between meetings. You don't send an email to them, you do it through Antoinette.
Let's ask Commissioner. Are you okay with that?
Yes, I'm good.
So going with education and dropping off of adaptation.
That's fine, yes.
So.
No, that's fine.
Because
We were just
adaptation is
trying to
full.
figure out what we're all interested in, so those were the two I was most interested in.
Great, thanks. So, education, I've got, Fogelberg, sorry. I need a break. Fogelberg, Ward, and Baston. And we're combining education and outreach, and then Calvin will be with that. I have metrics with Conlon and MCCLOSKEY, and then I've got adaptation with Morell, Conlon, HINERMAN, and Calvin. Fogelberg, Amber, Norma, and John. And Calvin. 3, because Calvin doesn't count. He counts, but he doesn't count. All right. Did we do it? Let's vote quick. Really quick.
Okay, I'm going to try to make this motion. For the new ad hocs, I propose, or I move, to adopt an education, community involvement, and outreach committee formed of Amber, Norma, John, and Calvin. Okay, I also would move to include in this motion metrics development ad hoc with Leo and myself, and a climate adaptation ad hoc with Chair Morell, myself, Commissioner HINERMAN, and Student Commissioner Stevens. So moved.
I second.
So we have a motion on the floor. Is there any commissioner commentary before a break? Brief commentary? Seeing none, I think we're ready for a vote on this motion.
Commissioner Baston?
Aye.
Commissioner McCloskey? Aye. Commissioner HINERMAN?
Yes.
Commissioner Fogelberg?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Aye.
Vice Chair Conlon?
Yes.
Chair Morell?
Yes. Unanimous.
The motion passes unanimously.
Call for a break.
Oh, and when we come back from the break, I'd like to request that we do a new photo. We have John and we have Calvin. Has he left? Oh.
No.
All right.
You tried.
That was just such a highlight, too.
move it along. We're going into item 4.4 on tonight's agenda, the draft general plan safety element discussion. Jennifer, are you going to lead us on this discussion?
Yes, sir, I am. There we go. Our ad hoc wasn't able to meet partially just because of the timing of getting that safety element out, or receiving it and then getting it out to the public and then this meeting. So what you received was the original unedited version. Since then, Chair Morrell has provided me edits, so that's what you're seeing before you right now. I'm going to increase that a little bit. There we go. So you can see it a little bit better. I don't know if all of you had time to review, but we're going to go in the same way that we've been doing on all of them. We'll go by section, and any thoughts, comments, or additional edits that you have. I think I'm going to let Chair Morrell, and I don't know if Commissioner Heinerman was able to review them, but if there's any just general thoughts when I reviewed Commissioner Morrell's comments, really until we get to climate adaptation, it was mostly edits.
Exactly. A trained editor at work.
All right, so introduction, thoughts, feelings, comments. Okay. Goal number 1. Oh, and by the way, if you've noticed, or I'm just really paying attention, I don't know. Some elements had summaries of goals at the beginning. Some, I'm realizing in these later elements that we're receiving from the consultant didn't, but I'll be having them be very consistent in that. So just FYI, I did recognize that, and we'll be fixing that. So goal number 1, minimize risk to life and property associated with flooding. So we're looking at flooding hazards. Any thoughts, comments around policies in the flooding section?
I'm going to make is there's a lot of references in the document to the 100-year flood, which people are going away from now. The terminology doesn't work anymore because a 100-year flood in my 21-year lawsuit in Erie, Pennsylvania is stormwater, and it's been changed a lot. And there are parts of the country where a 100-year flood was a 500-year flood, and like parts like here where we probably had a 100-year flood. Certainly less flooding now. 100-year floods defined technically as 1% chance of a flood that would occur in 100 years, and it's changed a lot in Sonoma. So I guess I can't come up with anything to substitute it.
Okay, I was going to ask.
Okay, so I just said that, but I got no suggestions.
Well, there is that climate risk metric lookup tool that Zillow was integrating. I've forgotten the name of that. It's a proprietary model, but it's publicly available.
I would hazard, haha, right, like this one. Did not mean to use that word. I would recommend that we stick with a 100-year flood, mostly just because we're talking about flooding, and when we talk about flooding, we're talking about FEMA, right? And FEMA creates our flood maps, and those are the maps that we utilize and have to use to determine location of buildings, as well as insurance rates and things like that. So until they come up with another measure.
I think, Tom, you're right, but everybody understands a 100-year flood. We don't have a real good substitute that the government recognizes at this point.
Well, I mean, the insurance industry is using proprietary risk models now, and the state of California, at least in wildfire, right, just gave the insurance companies the right to do that, and the state is building its own risk model as a way of checking to be sure they're not really gaming us. But in flood, I don't know of anything analogous.
I will bet you in 5 years when we're redoing this, we'll have something we can put in that's different. But I just don't think it's Yeah, but we can always change.
We can amend.
So,
That's a question for the consultant, though, I think, right?
Yep.
Is that we know that 100-year is not an adequate metric any longer, so what's their recommendation?
so you see in that C1D, they got the FEMA requirements.
Yeah,
Um,
good, strong agency these days.
All right, any actions? Anything? Actions? No? All right. Next one, fire hazards, which obviously changed for us this year. We did do, if you haven't already watched it, I had the consultants come and do a presentation to City Council. Commissioner Conlon was there on February 4th. And it was on the requirement to do evacuation traffic studies. It's a state law to do that assessment, and so the city participated, or the fire department as well as our police department participated in that study and developing the scenarios that were assessed. And we presented those results, and then those results are placed into this document, and then also will be utilized in other, there's a level of detail that is in that recommendations in that traffic assessment that are not going to be in the general plan, and I'll be working with our other staff that are working on the hazard mitigation plan that we're doing as well. That document gets updated a lot more often, and that traffic study is technically supposed to go with that, but the county didn't want to do it, so, and I'm going to say that out loud. So, with that, fire hazards, we adopted new fire hazard maps this year. We had not previously been located within a fire hazard area, and now we are. So we have added some new discussions around that. Any comments, questions around the policies in fire?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Sure.
So, I've been trying to reconcile the tree canopy recommendations, the inventory and tree canopy recommendations, which tend to encourage planting trees where there's available space to plant trees, with the very high severity hazard zone, which they overlap. And so I'd like this document to try to resolve that apparent discrepancy on a policy level at least. And you got a lot of input from the joint commissions to talk about that, but I think that's the function of these plans, is to sort of give guidance on that. And I don't see that in here really parsed yet. So that's a high-level question again for you to take back to the consultants and chew on all of that and try to come up. And I spoke to Dave about this briefly, Dave Johns as well. So in this section, the other comment that I had in my personal comments about the wildfire section is that it feels to me like it was drafted before SB 514 was passed. Chris Gavel, who now evidently is going to have a pretty significant role in the legislature under Monique Lamone, I think he's our local senator. And the gist of that new piece of the Public Resource Code is that it adds home hardening to the phrase defensible space within 100 feet of structures. And the reason that's important, especially in a city context, we don't have a lot of extensible defensible space that's within the city limits. It's a bigger concern for CAL FIRE, but here in the city, we really need to make our homes defensible. And so, particularly in that wildfire zone, I want to be sure we have policies and actions that are targeting home hardening as a goal. I recognize the city doesn't have a lot of jurisdiction or authority over what existing landowners do on their property, but we should be, our general plan should be well aware that that is going to be the way we fight fire over the next 25, 50 years here.
Wouldn't that be, or could that be covered in the permitting process?
So, yes, but the general plan is what sort of drives those actions. And so I'm bringing this issue up at a general level and asking Jennifer and the consultant team to work this through. The term is called Zone Zero. And then in general, I felt like and this makes sense, that most of the focus is on new construction, development planning. But the reality is, over the next 20 years, we're not going to add that many new buildings to Sonoma. We're going to still have the existing building stock. And that's the group that needs to be safe. So we need to be sure we don't overlook them, us.
That suggests to me, looking at this page, some stronger language in SE 2.11 could be added. More detail or confirmation from an owner.
Yeah, if you
or
look at
something that they've received it.
If you look at the Public Resource Code edits that were made by this SB 514, it's just adding the term home hardening in a bunch of places. And I didn't do that in my comments, but it's in the law, and so I think it's a reasonable thing for us to add to our plan. SE2H. Our screens, yeah, there we go. So, Councilmember Ding mentioned this in his comments the other night. The Fair and Peers Evacuation Study Report mentions the term populations with access and functional needs. And our report currently, our element says at-risk populations. And it felt to me that populations with access and functional needs is a little more specific and relevant to our aging population, who may not be traditionally at risk, but they are now at risk because of their functional needs. And it makes you think about making sure that our emergency operations personnel are properly, it's just a language edit, but I think it's important as we go forward.
Can you remind me again, can you say it one more time?
It's SE2H, and it's the definition of at-risk populations as highlighted here, versus populations with access and functional needs. So, so that just creates a better linkage to the Fair and Peers document, which is, I think I understand how this eco-analysis is going to work. The prime consultant is going to take responsibility for that, not the sub-consultant, but the prime consultant is going to cite the sub-consultant's report, and that's fine.
Okay, any others?
And then the last one I think that's in this SE list is 2Q. Yeah, SE, not S. It's it basically just cites the whole Fair and Peers assessment, and I was hoping that more of the recommendations that are made by the consultant, by Fair and Peers, in that report would be and maybe this is a conversation with Chief Aker that happens before you finish drafting. I'm concerned that some of the good ideas, like one of the consultant ideas was to, on red flag days, to say no parking on Broadway or Spain Street or some Verona or one of the streets that's really problematic, to be sure we have adequate capacity. If that's not a viable idea, we should clarify the discrepancy by making sure that there's not just broadly citing the report, but then ignoring that recommendation. We should resolve that at the general plan development process, not leave it ambiguous or, you know, make the chief responsible for implementing something that he doesn't really have confidence in. We should know about that now if it's a discrepancy between the consultant's opinion and the chief's opinion about what's going to work. And I had talked with you, Jennifer, afterward about the possibility of using the existing evacuation model the consultant produced to really test some of those maybe generic assumptions. You know, if you did create more capacity on Broadway and yet there's a bottleneck at the bottom, well, maybe you've got a bunch of cars sitting on Broadway and that's better than having them sit on Garricky Road. But has that been really modeled and thought through? And I think we have the, you know, these resources are in front of us with these consultants. We should try to get as much out of that as we can. So that's pretty much all I had to say in the wildfire section, which frankly we are way better than we were. The general tone of the meeting, I maybe sound a little critical as I usually do, but we are so much better off with all this planning work that's gone in. So feeling good about that.
Okay, the next section is climate resiliency and adaptation. So again, these are some of the edits. Chair Morell.
I can see it should say including actions instead of include actions. Not a major change, but a little bit of editorial improvement. You can see I added a little bit of Climate Action Commission language
Now,
there.
there's a period there, so include would be right.
Oh. Oh, include was right because of the period after action. Yeah, was right. There we go. Right. Yeah.
Okay,
I
so
threw in a little poetry about climate smart Sonoma. What the hell?
Where did these resiliency and these pop-out boxes come from?
Yeah, I didn't do any edits there.
They struck me as being kind of custom, and I'm not sure. Do you know? Yeah.
I didn't write them. So any comments around the policies? Or the actions? Okay, so I am working with staff so our hazard mitigation plan draft, if you've seen it, includes items around climate adaptation and resiliency as required. Some of it has a higher level of detail than what we would put in a general plan, but I am working with that staff person to modify this section because it did feel light.
You're talking about the local hazard mitigation plan, the multi-jurisdiction
Yes.
version.
Mm-hmm.
Good, because I haven't done that comparison. So it sounds like you're on top of that. So thank you very much, because we did notice that there were limitations in, correct me if I'm wrong, the safety element that was filed by the county and approved lacked the 747 analysis as required under law, but they plan to do it in the multi-hazard jurisdiction plan, and the analysis that Aaron Pierce referenced that they did for the county is in the multi-hazard jurisdiction plan, or have I got
No,
it reversed?
the reverse.
Okay.
It's in their safety element.
It's in the safety element as required by law, done by Fair and Peers, approved now by the
That's why the
county
county didn't want to do it as part of the multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, because they had already done it for their safety element.
That explains
And
what's
so
going
then
on.
it became, okay, the jurisdictions need to update their safety element, because we all have to update our safety elements with our housing element, and if you didn't do it then, you're in the process of doing it now. And so,
So the logic was to leave the specificity that's in the safety element out of the multi-hazard jurisdiction plan at the county level and make the jurisdictions do it themselves at the general safety
for the
element.
747 compliance,
Yeah.
for the assessment, but the level of specificity that are in recommendations, what I'm saying, in our assessment, we're gonna take that information that we got for our level of specificity, and I am working with that staff person to put it into our local hazard mitigation plan, and vice versa, pull out more of the general climate adaptation, and put it in our safety element.
Very well. So that's, I think that's something that climate adaptation ad hoc will want to be sure we take another look at, but it sounds like very encouraging that you're paying close attention to that, so thank you.
Okay. Chair Morrell did add a couple.
Very effective potentially. This would probably be located in and around the hospital. As I've looked at community microgrid developments. It's a place to run for that has its own power when the grid goes dead during a major event, fire or earthquake event. So it would be interesting to think about that. These are not small events to do. The word micro sounds smaller than it really is. It's a pretty significant effort to build one of these, but they're pretty exciting when they're done because they disconnect from the central grid.
The state of the art is just over the hill in Calistoga, as PG&E is well aware. And it, by the way, when that thing, it's able to support largely the community of Calistoga for 48 hours on solar and hydrogen fuel cell. And batteries. And so that allows PG&E to shut off the power on the hot side of the hill and keep that fire from burning over into Sonoma. And that's what Professor Jacobson and I were talking about today. So do we need something like that in Sonoma? We do not experience the power safety shutoffs that they experience on the other side of the hill.
That's why I put it in consider
And
as part of a long-term general plan.
So I don't like the word consider in plans because they create so little specificity that they can't really be evaluated in an EIR. And so I prefer to see policies and programmatic actions that give everybody clarity. So that's just my personal opinion, and I don't want to see this plan in court. So that's why I like to have strong language.
So you would suggest the word create, or do you want to drop the whole idea out? Because it's a big deal to create one. That's why I went softer with consider. This is a huge endeavor, which may or may not really be appropriate for the little Sonoma, but it sure is worth thinking about in a safety element.
So we've been talking about microgrids within our climate action strategies, which I think is probably, just based on this conversation, just keep it there, and then if we do, the goal again is to do a climate action plan, and we can talk a little bit more about that effort around a microgrid and analyze it there with its impacts, and then the environmental associated with it at that time.
I would make a distinction between a microgrid and a mini grid. The microgrid is what's typically talked about. It's a very big deal available to disconnect from an entire grid. A mini grid is 6 or 8 houses potentially on a cul-de-sac sharing a solar system with separate billing worked out but it's a way to maximize efficiencies and economic efficiencies and solar flow efficiencies, staying away from the trees that shade the solar connector. That's not a microgrid, that's a mini grid. And they're really, that doesn't belong in the safety element, but it is a distinction. We've been mostly talking about mini grids using the wrong language.
Yeah, I guess I'd be in favor of dropping it out of the element here. It is, we are already exploring EOC, Energy Emergency Operations Center, hardening and backup power. And so maybe a more general statement could be invest in emergency preparedness infrastructure.
Just consider, I mean, you're
Well,
just saying consider this.
Well, invest is more, I see it as more, invest, put a number on it, no, but I kind of want to hold us responsible for actually doing
That's why we don't
adaptation.
wanna drop it out. Yes, sir.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying leave,
Leave it in, water down, that needs to, that's what, and so
Okay.
that's people's attention.
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah.
say create. Just a thought. If this commission doesn't push it, nobody else will.
Yeah, I guess you're right, huh? That's our job.
Just one point.
All right,
One little point.
I'm flexible.
Flexible. All right.
All right, hazardous materials.
Oh, God.
Any thoughts,
We
feelings?
used to get paid.
Yeah, this is, we used to call him Mr. Hazardous Material, so.
Mr. Hazard.
You've got, I'll start with 4.4, but if anybody else wants to do something first. That, first of all, everybody, we all probably use hazardous materials, so, Clorox is hazardous material.
We should
So
reduce
I
it.
think you should say, encourage reduction in the amounts of hazardous wastes generated. And don't,
Sorry.
just focus on hazardous wastes generation, not the use of hazardous materials. Now with telecoms all the time, copy toner and all that is hazardous material.
And we ought to minimize its use.
Okay,
That's
fine,
why-
encourage,
That's, my view is to.
encourage more of the local
It's
producers.
not just waste, it's hazardous materials usage.
Well, we all use it, so why is it local producers and users? Shouldn't it be encourage the reduction of use of hazardous materials and generation of hazardous waste? Because hazardous waste, as you know, has a regulatory definition that makes it specific, and so does
That's why
hazardous
it's different
substance.
from hazard, it's a subset of hazardous materials.
Yeah,
intrinsically,
it's,
Obviously.
I've argued to courts it's not, it's different. But
I wasn't there.
you would have beaten me. You would have beaten me. So, reduction of
Might have been
hazardous,
there in the
of the use of hazardous materials and the generation of hazardous waste.
That's fine.
And 4.5, I don't think we should encourage the use of
If I could-
pesticides in any way.
If I could comment on 4.4 first.
Okay, sorry.
Forgive me, I'm actually commenting on 4.5.
Okay. I don't think you encourage the use of pesticides. What you say
That's
is
what I meant.
anyone using pesticides, use those consistent.
Yeah,
In other words, you-
discourage the use of toxic pesticides is what I have here. And then, or encourage the use of non-hazardous pesticides is positive.
Or just encourage if pesticides are being used, that their use is consistent with products' specific safety recommendations.
Oof, okay, so I'm gonna go
I'm
with
sorry.
discourage first, and then if, so an if-then statement?
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that.
I'm doing this on the spot at 9:10. This is past my bedtime, so I'm just,
Yeah,
you're gonna have
It
to
looks great.
let me just
Looks
make
so good.
notes and then I'll
Yeah.
fix my English.
Please.
Yeah.
Good night, Irene. Whatever the hell that came from.
Yeah, I'll have to use my English skills later. All right, next.
That's it, to me on that section.
John raises a good point about, do we, in the hazardous materials section, have a policy related to any existing documented sites? And should that be brought forward in this section?
Not sure. I mean, we're required, I'm not seeing the exact words, but I'll just make note to look up. We're required to maintain a list of hazardous sites. Fire department maintains it.
It's all in the HMBPs that are mentioned in here. Everybody handling it has to have it filed with the fire department.
If you're just gonna make a note out of the next item, just occurred to me. Sonoma, the city of Sonoma has no drop-off place for sharps. Pharmacy CVS won't take them.
There are occasional, Bon Marché runs an occasional program in it.
So you wanna mention sharps?
I know that's been a concern of the council, previous city council members, but I haven't heard it in a long time.
Let's add it to Antoinette's list around just waste commentary right now.
So
It's getting late. I'm
It's a
okay
level
with
of
whatever you
specificity.
say.
It's a level of specificity that
I have
don't know that goes
two
right there.
under policies in this SE4 area, hazardous materials.
Okay.
And you don't have, you can just put a quick note, and I can send you the specific text if you don't want to take
Sounds
too
good.
long now. But SE 4.7 would be appended to this list. Discourage the burning of firewood, consistent with BACMed regulations and voluntary programs. Don't think there's should be any question about that in the city limits. But maybe there is, but I don't, it seems to me to be a hazardous waste. It's probably our top hazardous waste exposure in the city, right? I know I cough in the winter. And then for 8, prepare for local implementation and enforcement of BACMed air quality rules to reduce exposure to nitrogen oxides. Those are things we know are coming down the pipe, and we need to prepare for them.
That's true.
Think that covers it?
Well done.
It does.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Next. Anything else under hazards?
No.
almost there, almost there. It's a long one.
I have a whole bunch of policy changes in police protection services, but I won't take us there now.
I wouldn't.
Is it true we have no policies on building seismic under goals SE7 for existing buildings? I'll send you these notes and you can chew on them with the consultant, but
Wait, which one?
under the last one, SE7 geologic and seismic hazards.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Again, I'm always thinking about existing buildings, and it feels like we need a policy to address hazards associated with the natural gas system, especially high-pressure transmission pipe running through town, and in-building natural gas appliance strapping. Do we need a program to? The Energy Commission is working on zonal decarbonization right now to come up with ideas of where to target electrification, because there's portions of the pipeline that are more at risk than others, and it's cheaper to do electrification than it is to fix all the gas pipe in that area. And so being able to think about that at the planning level, policy level, is just something.
Okay.
See Tom's notes.
I'm gonna bring my pillow next time.
I'll bring in the next.
I only have one more.
Is it on goal 7?
No, it's SC 16.
I'm sorry, what number?
The last page.
Okay.
When you say the page is left intentionally blank, it's not blank anymore.
That one?
Now I've got, this is what I've got, and this was attached to our agenda tonight.
Oh,
Page
the-
17. It
Yes.
says this page is intentionally left blank, but it's not.
It was, and then I deleted it.
Well, look, there it is, right there. You just had it.
I had my insert figure and then.
Keep going. There it is. This page left intentionally blank.
Yeah,
Is that a correct statement?
I don't. You know, it is not, okay? But there are people that ask questions if it is blank, and so you have to inform
How
people.
about it has no text? It does,
But it has no text.
Okay, it's late.
Wouldn't that depend on your definition of blank?
Ooh.
Ooh, esoteric now.
It's like the trash bin that says that people. It's good,
Okay, we're punchy now. All right, I think that concludes the safety element. Are we good on the safety element? Yay, 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 yay.
Yes.
Okay. Director comments and announcements. Apparently an email went out to the commissioners. That wasn't copied. But I knew it was going. I just never saw it. But I saw it on the Sun last night. And so our city manager has taken the job as county administrator, as commented a couple of times during this meeting tonight. So that's note number 1. Note number 2 is I'll let you all know when we schedule bringing the work plan to city council, probably mid-late March, or maybe, yeah, possibly. We'll see. It'll be sometime in March. It won't be obviously next week. So just wanted to make note of that, and I think that's it that I have right now. Thank you.
Yes, we're through the agenda.
It's okay.
That's it? Okay, are there any commissioner reports and comments other than the time of day?
No.
Going once,
I just want to say real
Amber,
quick, I'm so
yes,
sorry. I was at
absolutely.
the Cultural and Fine Arts Commission meeting last night, and if you know any youth who are talented and artistic, applications are currently open. I know interviews are happening at the end of March, so it's cash prize. Support youth artists.
Thank you. Other commissioner comments this evening?
Yes, the word comments is misspelled.
But the page is not blank.
Not intentional.
All right, I believe we're ready for item 7. We are finally adjourned.